Welcome to the First 52 on WKOA Live. I'm Johnny English Sean Raspatello from sunny Florida.
Yes, we are. Gotta love it down here, brother.
I'm in rainy Iowa.
I'd like to inform everybody that's already joined with us this evening. We did plan on having Chris Gio joining us. There was a little miscommunication with time zones. So he's actually already started his show for the evening, but he hooked us up with Popeye from Federal Jack. So he'll be joining us in about 10, 15 minutes or so.
Very nice. And, I was looking forward to talking to him, or Chris, but I am definitely just as excited to talk to, Popeye. And I've heard him on Ledge's show. So he's a great, I don't know how long he's been doing this, forever and a day, I guess. But, I can't wait.
Yeah, it definitely should be a good interview. He can cover a lot of topics. He does a lot in the Southwest or South Florida area, fighting corruption, just constantly fighting the New World Order. He does a lot of police action, tracking, kind of like what Cop Block does, the same type of stuff. You can find him at federaljack.com, and he's another great news aggregate site. They do some original stories and stuff. So, he'll have a lot of insight, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to talk about.
Fantastic.
I'm going to be bringing him up.
There, yeah, I see the thing just popped right up there. And coming to the show right now, Popeye from federaljack.com. I actually have his website up on the deal right now.
I'd like to introduce Popeye from Federal Jack to my partner here, Johnny English, my co-host.
How's it going?
Popeye, what's up, man?
What's up, dude? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, and thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it, especially last minute like this. It really means a lot. There's just nothing when you say, to thank you guys enough.
Oh man, it's not that big of a deal. It's cool. No biggie. It's not like you guys would do the same, for one of us if we needed help. We watch each other's back, right? That's how we take care of things here. So.
That's right. And welcome to the First 52 there, Popeye.
I'm glad you guys, brought me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Did you get a chance to look at that article I sent you over, Popeye?
No, but you know what? While I'm talking to you right now, I'll do it. I'll open it right up. You did tell me that it involved a 80-year-old woman being tased. I would love to hear what the excuse was for tasing an 80-year-old woman.
Yeah, I want to know that.
Here's the funny part of that story. The cops couldn't control her from swinging her cane at them. That's why they tased her in the back, because they couldn't stop her from swinging her cane at them.
Because cops are pussies, and they should have walked over, removed the cane from the 80-year-old woman's hands, told her to calm down, and if they needed to get two of them to control her, put her in the car. What did they do before tasers?
Well, it says here, according to police, the woman who spoke confusingly began to swing her cane at the officers when police tried to take it away from the nude woman. That's the other thing. She was nude on the front step also. As police continued to talk the woman out of swinging her cane at them, another officer used a taser on the woman's back. The woman was immediately transported to a nearby medical facility for treatment. So that's the short and skinny of it. So as they use their tactic of sneak up behind while they keep you confused in the front.
And let me guess, they took the prongs off of it and did, I forget what they call it. Dry stun. That's what they call it. Dry stuns. And
what's that? What is a dry stun? What is that?
It's when you pull the clip off the front of the taser. The taser still works, but it acts like a stun gun rather than a taser. And you can come up to somebody and you press it right up against their skin and squeeze the trigger, and they get the full brunt of it.
Wow.
Yeah. I've seen them drop people before. I've seen the cops do it when I was in the Guard. They were starting to train people to use tasers and stuff like that for the same thing. The military uses them. It's called a dry stun. It's when you come up and I know a cop that did it to this chick. She was a big volleyball player. I think she was on meth at the time. She was all out of it. Anyway, they did the same thing. They had two guys in the front talking to her, and he told me, he goes, "Oh, we do it all the time. It's one of their tactics." They sneak up right behind you, and they usually hit you in the lower part of the back. And usually it makes you, and they do this, he even told me, I do it purposely, because if you hit him in the stomach or right around the side by, maybe right on the side by the love handle area there, all their muscles tense up, and a lot of times you'll make their bladder and their colon spasm, and the person will crap and pee on themselves, and they do it purposely, and then they make the person sit in the cell for like 10 or 12 hours in their own feces.
You've had your share of
Good
encounters
Lord.
with law enforcement, haven't you?
Yeah, luckily, I haven't been tased in the face or beat with a nightstick. One of our reporters actually a couple of years ago on or what they call Urban Beach Weekend down here, where they have that huge party. I'm sure you guys saw the video last year where the cops shot into a crowd of people. They were trying to shoot some guy in a car and they unloaded like 100 rounds on the guy.
Oh,
They ended up hitting people in the crowd and stuff.
Isn't that the same weekend that one cop got arrested for running over a girl on the beach on his police quad?
It was probably around that time. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was a bachelorette party, and they were at a club called Mangoes, which is right on Ocean Drive there. And on-duty South Beach cops were in the bar drinking with their guns, full uniform, everything, sitting there drinking and partying with these chicks, and they were taking photos. And like, duh, hello, you're a cop. Don't you think that's a bad idiot?
Yeah, and then he left from there and he ran over a girl on the beach. She was laying out in the sun or something like that.
Oh yeah, it was at I think it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But they went out he took the bride to be out on a romantic ride on his ATC or his quad because he was a beach quad cop. And while he was riding with her and flying around, there were 2 people that were walking on the beach. And, looking at the stars and stuff, and talking or whatever, enjoying a nice little moonlit walk on the beach. And I guess he didn't see them, and he hit both of them, and he really injured the female out of the group because it was a guy and a girl. And the woman was in the hospital for a while.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that story when I read that one. It was, it's amazing when you see these things. And it's not, I always tell people I'm not anti-cop, I'm anti-police state. I'm anti-people getting this power that they think they're untouchable. I believe it was Indiana, or I think it was Indiana just passed a law that you can shoot law enforcement if you need to protect yourself. I don't know if you saw that, or I think I saw that on your site maybe.
Yep, I posted it. But here, I question the fact that it was the governor of the state. I question him because that's Mitch Daniels, and he was at Bilderberg. So is there an ulterior motive behind doing that? This is what I've been thinking about since that happened, since he was at Bilderberg.
Well, what's your thought on that?
Well, is there an ulterior motive behind that? Do you think that perhaps, with egging the cops on that they need to be afraid of everybody and that everybody's a bad guy and that they're they train cops that they're at war with scum in this country. I've had this conversation with cops. That's why I know. I had a SWAT team captain tell me, we're at war in this country with scum. And I was like, oh no, you didn't just go there, right? Like, what propaganda have you been eating? Like, really, what drug-filled brownies have you been eating? Because I'd like to get my hands on some. Apparently you're in another universe, dude.
Yeah, because it's not like, we all know there's scum in the world. Yes, there is, but that's not how they should be looking at it in my eyes.
As bad as things are in like Chicago, in big cities like that, I used to go to Chicago quite a bit, and like every other day. And it's not nearly as bad as what they portray it to be. I'm sure there are some bad areas that you shouldn't go into depending on your color or your race or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if you listen to the news and you listen to the way, all these idiots portray everything, you would swear that there's a civil war going on every block down there,
Well, and they centralize. Oh my God, I can't even talk tonight.
824. Okay.
The first one.
Got it.
Actually, it's 9. Oh, that's right. You're an hour behind.
Yeah, I'm an hour behind.
They draw everything up. They sense. What word am I trying to get out, Johnny? That's why you were there to help me get words out. Remember?
I don't even know what you're trying to say.
Popeye, you know what I'm trying to?
Censorship?
No, sensual.
Okay, let's have a contest and see if we can figure out
centralized.
No, it's sensual. What, honey?
Do you have a definition? Do you know exactly what you're trying to say?
Make it look bigger, make it look better.
Sensationalize.
Sensationalize, yeah. Popeye wins. Popeye wins something. I don't know what, but he wins something.
That's the mainstream media's favorite thing to do is sensationalize crap.
Yes, it is, exactly. See, my wife usually produces for me and sits next to me and writes me notes when I can't get words right. She's not with me right now.
See, behind every good man, there's a good woman.
That's right. That is definitely right. So anyway, back to subject. So we got on that one with the cop running him over. We got the 80-year-old that we were talking about. Last week also a 32-year-old mother. We're still on the taser police brutality drawing out of line, but a 32-year-old mother who was apparently on, guess what she was on? Bath salts. Imagine that.
There it is
stupid
again.
Drug.
Bath salts again.
Yeah, they just keep coming up. That's for some reason they're now I can't get it out again. They're really pushing that one.
Let me ask you this. Why can't people learn? Like, there's, when people say, well, I didn't know, I can't stand that. 20 years ago, there was an excuse for that because it wasn't easy to get information like it is nowadays. Now, you can go with the click of a button on your cell phone and go on the internet and look anything up in the blink of an eye and find it. So there's no excuse for people to be like, well, I didn't know taking bath salts would make me eat someone's face. Really? You didn't know?
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous that this is out there. And, if we just ended this stupid drug war, people wouldn't be reaching out for cheaper and different ways to.
Exactly. If people could just go, buy a pack of joints, at the store like you do a pack of cigarettes, right?
Yep, exactly.
They wouldn't have the problem of, well, I can't get that because it's made to be illegal. So I'll go out and put some weird, like, Drano and whatever the hell else is in there up my nose. I mean, it's like meth. That makes no sense to me. Whoever came up with that, of course, that's a redneck thing because there's no way somebody was thinking clearly. They had to have been drinking moonshine. Like,
I was going to say
Drano and bleach, right? And mix it.
I was going to say, man, who tested this and who figured out what ingredients and how many people died trying to get the right combination of this stuff, because there's a lot of bad stuff in meth.
Well, you can't really ask that question though, because for me to answer that question, I'm going to tell you that it was probably the CIA or some government entity trying to develop the next way to destroy society. And it wasn't I don't believe it was a backwood redneck that figured that out. I believe it was probably some kind of government injected thing into the society.
Good point, because that's like crack. Crack wasn't invented by some black, drug addict sitting in a corner, going, man, if you sit and we use fire and a little bit of water and we do this process called freebasing and you use some baking soda and a few other things. What? How the hell did he figure that out? That's like chemistry. You're going to tell me some guy who's jonesing for some sort of fix of whatever, frothing at the mouth in an alleyway, all of a sudden he has an epiphany and he's like Matt Damon in that movie where he's the janitor and all of a sudden he's super smart and he's writing on the doing all these mathematical equations or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's this guy, right? No. Come on, let's be real.
Yeah, you would have to be a chemist. I mean, you would have to have some knowledge of chemistry to even start that, because, I mean, you don't just start throwing stuff together, because there's certain ingredients under your kitchen sink that if you mix them, it gives off a deadly gas and it'll kill you immediately.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, it's just crazy that we end up there. But so this lady was on bath salts apparently, and she had attacked her kid. The husband had finally got control of the kid, and then she came out and was attacking the dog. The cops got there, tased her. She died. It turns out that she had a heart stent put in 2 days before that. So she shouldn't have been doing bath salts to begin with, on top of just having a heart stent put in 2 days prior to that. And then she draws herself to getting tased.
That doesn't mean I don't have to do bath salts if I have to have a heart stent put in, because I got a feeling that's where I'm headed. And, I don't have to do bath salts.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't think she was supposed to have to do them.
Oh, okay.
Is the point I mean, is she shouldn't have been doing them anyway.
Well, she was a moron for doing anything like that 2 days after surgery.
Bath
yeah,
salts.
Exactly.
I don't get the bath.
There's another death within a week from tasers is what I'm getting at.
But have you ever noticed, though, when all this stuff comes out, it's always one story, and then all of a sudden it just starts flowing across the country, just like a nice breezy flag, and it just goes right. Story after story, each state will have their own little story. And it always goes back to, and now it's bath salts. It's like all of a sudden people have just going crazy, and now they're trying it. I wonder how many people have actually tried it just from hearing these stories.
Well, I know I haven't. That's for sure.
Well, they know that there will be a certain amount of copycat, incidents of anything, whether it be if it's a murder and it's very sensationalized and splashed all over the media, they will have copycat murders. And they know this. That's why they sensationalize the hell out of it. And it does, it works on multiple levels. Look, they were doing that, and for a whole week they were talking about the zombies, and what didn't they talk about? They didn't talk about the dicks over at the Bilderberg meeting.
Right.
You didn't see mainstream media even barely covering it at all. Nobody covered it. Why? Because that whole week everything was zombies. Be careful, bath salts will turn you into a zombie. You know how you deal with a zombie, ladies and gentlemen? You put a round through its skull. Don't shoot it in the chest. Why waste your ammo? Ammo's not cheap. Ammo's kind of expensive.
That's
so
right.
be a good shot. Right in the noggin.
Go to the pistol range, once or twice a month, and then zero in on those headshots, and you'll be ready to rock and roll.
Well, see, when I was in the Guard, and Popeye was mentioned, he was in the Guard also. I was in the National Guard handgun team, and we always did the triple tap whenever we did training. That's part of actually one of the competitions, which was 2 to the chest, 1 to the head.
That's what we used to train. We weren't supposed to do that, but that's how we trained when we did when we trained at boat crews. Because I used to work. One of my jobs was I worked in the armory, and I taught tactical shotgun and tactical pistol, and that's one of the things I used to teach. Through the course, you're only supposed to teach, a lot of times they tell you, hit him in the chest. Yeah, okay. I always used to teach everybody, any trigger puller. You're going to pull that trigger? And it's really not pulling the trigger, it's squeezing it. But if you're going to be out there and you're going to be using a gun, I taught everybody that I ever sent down, through the course, you do 2 in the chest and you follow it with 1 in the head. And they're like, well, but we're not supposed, well, we've been told by certain people. I said, I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what some officer tells you. If you're out there and you're in the middle of a firefight and you hit a guy twice in the chest and then you lower your weapon, he can still shoot you. If you shoot him in the head and blow his brains out the back, he can't do anything. He's done. Lights out. Over.
Yeah.
Like, don't you guys watch horror movies?
That's pretty much that's a game ender right there.
Well, doesn't anybody pay attention to horror movies or action movies? What happens? The bad guy gets shot, he goes down, and the good guy's like, yeah, we got him. And then he reaches his gun up, and one of the guys gets killed. Like his partner or his friend. Oh, no, he got shot. Well, you know what? If you had put one in his skull, homie would be alive. So bad on you.
You know what movie that reminds me of as you say that? The one I always think of is Lethal Weapon. I think it was the second one.
I was just thinking of one where
in the boat.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking of.
That's exactly the first image that came to my head. When they're in the boat fighting and they shoot him like a whole shitload of times and he still ends up pulling the gun up and shooting him and his partner shoots him from across the from up above and all.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Now, see, Mel Gibson got shot like 15 times, right? He lived. And what happens if he was a bad guy? Now, you see, and what happens in every horror movie? They shoot the guy, right? And he's laying there dead. And then the person goes over and they're looking and then they go to walk past and then he wakes up and they grab him by the leg and they take him to the ground and they start choking him or, oh my God, drama. No, you should have shot him 15 times in the face while he was down there. But when you first walked over, okay, you should have just unloaded the entire magazine on him and then been like, all right, cool. I think he's dead. We can go.
We're good now. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder how many movies I've actually said that. You sitting there watching it, and the same thing. It's usually they just turn their back to walk out of whatever room it is, and then the guy, reaches over, grabs the gun, and fires and shoots one of the guys. Yeah, it happens in, all those movies. Like, it seems like it happens the same thing every time. It's like, okay, you shot him, he's down on the ground. All you have to do is walk 3 feet, point the gun right at his face, and put a couple rounds in his head. And it's over. It's done. But then I guess that's, they can't have that in a movie. You got to have that excitement in the movie. So,
well, look what happened to. Here's a perfect example of a real world scenario. There happened to be a journalist with a group of Marines who were going through Fallujah, and after a firefight, they were clearing. I don't know if it was I think it was a mosque that the people that and I don't want to say insurgents because I hate that term. So I'll just say the Op 4, the opposing force. The Op 4, they were all dead except for one guy. He was mortally wounded and he was laying there. And they were walking through, and this one Marine who had just watched one of his friends get killed not too long before, they were walking through and somebody said, hey, that one's still alive. And he turned and went, pop, pop, not anymore, and kept walking. Okay? It was just simple, but the media caught it and they sensationalized it. And they tried to, because the media was all over it, of course, then the military brass always responds with, well, something must be done because now all eyes are on us. And I think it ended up eventually he didn't get found. They let him off, and they were like he didn't do anything. But they created this big scene out of it, and I don't remember if it went to. It might have even gone to. They tried to court martial him. I don't fully remember. You'd have to look it up, but it's out there. You can see, and it was because they played this, and they said, how could he do that? That was a war crime, and it wasn't a war crime. Okay, that's what happens in war. That's a reality of war. Okay, that's why war should always be the last option. That's why war isn't an effing video game. It's not Call of Duty on your Xbox. It's the real thing. Okay, and what would happen if he didn't shoot that guy, and he turned his back, and they kept walking, and the guy pulled out a grenade, and because the same situation had happened a couple hours earlier, and his friend had gotten killed. His friend was a medic, and he had run. I remember the story. He had run over. And the guy was still alive, and when he was checking him, I guess the guy that was laying there dying popped out a grenade, and it killed his friend. So they weren't going to take that chance a second time. And I can't say as I blame them. If I was in a war zone, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably would have done the same thing, and I'm sure Sean would have too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Johnny, I'm sure you would have done the same thing too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Johnny was a Navy boy, so.
No, see, you know nothing about me, Sean. It's amazing. You still don't know anything about me. Get this, Popeye. I want you to understand something. I've been doing a show with this guy. This is our 11th show together. Granted, not that long. I've been doing it a lot longer, but 11 shows together. We've had several conversations. Number one, he can't remember my Twitter handle when he's on DC. Number two, he says I'm very religious. I'm not. And now he comes up with this crap. He don't even know what branch of service I was in.
I forgot what branch of service you were in.
I was in the Army. I was in the Army.
Oh, you were in the Army also?
Hey, let's play a game. Guess what did I do in the Army, Sean?
Oh, Johnny. I don't remember. Oh, wait, no, missile, air defense, satellite work, something like that.
That's close enough. That's close enough.
I can't remember.
It was the Hawk missile system. Yes, it was air defense. So I'll give you that. Right. The Navy. Right, the Navy. Really?
Well, that's why I got confused, because you guys were talking about that missile site you guys were looking at on Twitter last week. I remember you talking about the air defense part of it, but I thought it was onboard ship, because it was a Navy site you were looking at, wasn't it?
I don't know what that site is. I have no idea. Do you know anything about that, Popeye? There's a base down in Florida, and there was a small plane crash here not too long ago. They had an aerial photograph of it, and it was the Star of David. There was a missile in each one of the star points with the radar right in the center. Do you know anything about that?
That's a military base down here in Florida?
Yeah.
It's up Central Florida.
It wouldn't surprise me. They have that Nazi Navy building over in, what is it, Sacramento? Somewhere over in California. Yep. It's also used as a barracks for SEALs over there and stuff. If you look at it, I think since there was a big hubbub about it, I think they eventually just walled it off and made it all square now. But for a long time, the building was originally a swastika. And if you looked at it from the sky, you could totally see it.
Salty in the chat room says it's MacDill Remote Training Facilities. And
down in MacDill Air Force Base, well, that makes sense. There's a lot of shady shit that goes on over there. But it's
actually, literally, if you look at the aerial photograph that we looked at, they actually laid gravel down, and you could tell it's purposely laid out in the exact Star of David. You couldn't get it. It's exactly like the flag. There's no, it could be, it's kind of close. It is the Star of David. And there's an actual missile in each one of the points. And it's an air defense type deal.
If you zoom in, you can see the missile. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, the Star of David, what the Star of David is not actually, it has nothing to do with Judaism whatsoever. It really doesn't.
What does it have to do with then?
There's so much, dude, that you have to look.
It's a deep one.
I'll put it to you this way. I can't remember his name now. It was used by, I can't remember this right now. You ever read any of David Icke's work?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Heard a lot more of his speaking.
There's a good book you got to read. If there's any of his books you read, The Biggest Secret is a good book, is the best one. Okay, you don't have to believe when he starts talking about the reptilian stuff in the towards the end of the book, and a lot of that stuff. is actually misunderstood. A lot of people think that he comes out with that. He's not. He just presents what all these other cultures have believed. I read his, because I used to make fun of it too until I read the book.
Oh, okay.
The biggest, what was it?
The Biggest Secret. Somebody challenged me to read the book, and because I was like, come on, reptilians, really? And not that I'm not saying I believe it, but what I was like, you know, this guy, he says this, that, the other thing. When I read it, I was like, oh, okay, well, he does say that, he says that, you know, they exist, but it's not him making this stuff up. What he's talking about when he talks about those things is he's talking about all these ancient beliefs going back like 5,000-6,000 years, like what the Mayans believed and the Sumerians and stuff like that. So that's where his evidence and all that stuff is based upon.
Right. I think he uses it more of a visual kind of presentation of what they really are, as far as
like they're not human. They're more into the ego, that reptile mind, which is.
We know there's actually a series of books. Me being a trucker, and when I was over the road, I actually would listen to books on tape and then eventually books on CD. And there's actually a series, and I can't think of the name of it right offhand, but the series actually seems like they read all of David Icke's work on lizard people and actually turned a series into, you know, took all that and made it a series of...
Like V?
That's what I was going to say. Just look at V.
Yeah.
Well, the original V, too. I mean, that came out when I was a kid, and that really creeped me out. And then reading this one, later on, like you said, you think about that. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, and it goes to how they put everything out there for us before they do things, or, you know, the Lone Gunman.
Yep.
I'm sure you've seen the Lone Gunman episode that came out before 9/11, or at least a clips of it.
All right, well, I'm going to wreck your childhood now. Did you play Super Mario Brothers?
Of course I did.
Yes.
All right. Johnny, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I did too. I grew up with Nintendo and Pong and TurboGraphics and all that crap. You know, that was our generation. Mario Brothers, right? Now, someone told me this after I had researched and I had, you know, seen the evidence, you know, that I brought forward from the Sumerians and everything else all over the place about the reptilians and stuff. And somebody was like, hey, check this out. And it was a video, and I can't remember who did it. But the guy pretty much breaks it down that look at Mario Brothers. Like, what were they trying to tell you with that video game? A bunch of guys who travel interdimensionally eating magic mushrooms, and they're fighting lizard people that are trying to take over the planet. And I was like, wow, you know,
damn.
Now you're telling me there's all, yeah. And then when you watch the video, and I'm not even getting into it in enough detail, but when you watch the video, by the time you're done, you're like, wow, that just wrecked my childhood with Super Mario Brothers, you know? So,
yeah,
but I couldn't, it's been a couple of years, so I couldn't remember it all. But yeah, when you have to watch it, but he shows you a bunch of different things, and there's more to it than that too. And he shows different symbolism and stuff, and you're like, oh my God, you just ruined this for me. Thank you.
But you got to love when things start coming to you, you know, that it comes out. I was watching the old G.I. Joes. They're on Netflix now. The old 83 ones, the good ones. And as you sit and watch those, and you hear Alex Jones always making, you know, the Cobra references and stuff, until you sit down and watch it and really bring it back, you know, really look at it and knowing what we know now compared to what we knew then. And it's amazing the propaganda you see even in that now. As an older person that's opened up to what's going on. I'm pretty sure, Popeye, you and I are about the same age. Johnny's an old man here, but you and I are about the same age. And so we probably grew up around the same stuff. So I'm sure you watched G.I. Joe also.
Oh yeah, G.I. Joe was filled with predictive programming. There's so much stuff in there when you go through it. I've put up videos about this. There's one, I have the clip up on one of my YouTube channels where Cobra Commander is talking about they're going to make all cash obsolete, and like all cash was turning into dust, and you had to trade in whatever you had for this new Cobra gold dollar, whatever the hell it was.
I have that video too. Yep.
And it was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's what they're doing now. And it was globally they were doing this. It was just ridiculous. And they want you to believe, by the way, they want the general public to believe that Al-Qaeda, I'm doing air quotes when I say Al-Qaeda,
Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, they want you to believe that Al-Qaeda is Cobra from G.I. Joe, and that they launch attacks from some secret base in the mountains. You know, the dome opens up and jets fly out with terrorists on them.
That's why we had to send the SEALs in.
Yeah, exactly.
G.I. Joe.
It's just ridiculous, dude. It really is ridiculous, and people buy this. the movie prop crap with the stealth helicopter. Really? Okay, if it did crash, you just leave it there? You don't even bother. Well, the tail section, we tried to blow it up. Tried? Okay, last time I checked, SEALs don't try anything.
They do, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They just do it. They get it done. That's why they're SEALs.
Well, the weaponry that they have, they could blow anything up at any time. I mean, you could lower a daisy cutter on it and take out not only everything, not only the helicopter, but everything within about 2 square miles.
They could have brought a drone in and destroyed that within a matter of 20 minutes. Easily, without a question.
By the way, Popeye, if you look in the chat room, Salty actually posted the exact coordinates. If you want to Google map that, and you will actually be able to see that overhead shot.
Oh, okay, that's the overhead shot you guys were talking about.
Yeah, he actually put the exact. He's right on it, man. We've got some pretty good listeners. We have a few people that come in the chat room, not too many, but when they come in, they're right on it. They give us a lot of information. So,
no, that's cool, man. My chatters are like that too on my radio show. They come in and if they're not chatting with each other and having a conversation, a lot of times, if something gets brought up like that, they'll do the same thing and throw it in there. The chatters are an integral part of what we do. That's how come we're the alternative media, and it's cool. I think that people reach out and can interact with us as opposed to watching some, mainstream media whore on television repeat what they're told to repeat verbatim. And then anytime someone comes on with a dissenting opinion, they laugh at you and act like you're some crazy kook. Oh, I hate that crap. I wish somebody would just punch somebody in the face one day.
Where can we find your show? And it's what, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
See, I don't remember anything.
See what I'm dealing with, Popeye? Do you see what I'm dealing with here?
Sorry, man.
You guys get a good flow together, man. It's you guys. It makes it a little lighter to hang out with you too. You know what I'm saying?
Can you imagine?
Sometimes you go on radio. You know what I mean? You go on people's radio shows and they have like a stick up their ass.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of fun together. That's why we continue to go.
Do you want me to do the hacky radio voice? I mean, I could do hack if you want. If you
That's
really,
a great hacky radio
if
voice.
you need
Go ahead,
it,
I want to hear it. I got to hear this.
All right here on WKOA Live, right here on the First 52, we have Popeye, FederalJack.com.
Oh my God, dude! You could work for terrestrial radio. You could do the morning zoo shows. Those things make me sick. I can't stand those shows.
I used to get on and just play music, and then I would just do the hackiest voice in between, just to be goofy. I'd have a few beers, and I just didn't have anything else to do, and I would just get on. And I think Sean listened one night. I was just acting stupid, just the hackiest, just as hack as I could possibly get.
Now, what network are you on? You're on. I don't want to get it wrong because there's two very similar, and one's got some really nasty people on it.
Yeah, no, we're the nicer one. It's Orion Talk Radio. You can listen over at oriontalkradio.com. And I'm on Wednesday nights and Friday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard, and Sundays 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. I like to talk about stuff that other people consider taboo.
That's what we all need to start doing. That's why we do what we do. Now, I got a question for you because I was a big member of it when you started it, and I had a lot of good videos up on it, and it went away. I was kind of curious what happened to TrueTube, brother.
Oh, our server got hit big time. We got hacked a few times because of content that we had up, and the one big hit we took was, and I've talked about this before, so it's no secret. We got attacked by the IDF. In case you're not sure who that is, that's the Israeli Defense Force. Yes, they have hackers, and they didn't like what we had on our site.
Really?
And yeah, they didn't like what we had up on the server, so they hit the whole server and took the whole server down that the site was on. So it was damaged a lot. Luckily, Federal Jack was backed up in different locations, so it wasn't a big deal for that. But we lost a couple other sites that the guy that runs the server had on there, and the IDF had gone after one of the other sites because of the content that he had up there. They considered it to be promoting terrorism, I guess. So they attacked the server, and it wasn't like they had the FBI or anything. They traced the attack back, and it went right back to the IDF.
Should we be worried? Should we be worried now because it seems
that was a long time ago.
Well, no, I mean the last couple of months we started getting downloads from Israel just out of the blue. I mean, I'm
well,
on
they
our
do,
site.
honestly, they do. Look, you know what? I'll tell you what. Just always, just be prepared for the worst, and then if nothing happens, you're good to go. And then if, it hits the fan, then at least you're prepared. And sometimes you're going to get hacked just because you might have a vulnerability on the site. I've been around since the end of 2006. We've been doing Federal Jack. So we've been around almost 6 full years now. So we've gotten attacked a few times. When you do what we do and you talk about what we talk about, like picture what Jones talks about, but then going 100% past what he talks about because, he tries to keep it, under 90 at it to a certain extent. And that's cool. That's his, I'm not bashing him or anything for that. That's his thing. But picture me going like 100 miles past that. Now, I draw fire. He draws fire constantly. We draw fire at a lower level constantly, but when we start drawing the big fire is when I did things like we created a Libyan war crimes page and started showing pictures that we got from people in Libya through Susan Lindauer, who was a former CIA asset, and Bush had thrown her in jail for, talking about 9/11 warnings. And
yeah, she's amazing. We had her on DC a couple times. I've read her book, or I'm in the process of reading her book. She's an incredible woman.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. So she hit me up and she was like, where can you help me make a page or something exposing this? I've been told that you guys are the only people that'll really do something like this. And I was like, yeah, I like pissing in people's cornflakes. Let's go. So she sent me the photos and we built a page and we built a website called obamaslibya.com. And we uploaded these videos that the people in Libya had gotten. A lot of it came from this fact-finding mission that Harpley was part of, and Cynthia McKinney took part of. I think Wayne Madsen even went over there. There was a bunch of people that went in and out of there over the course of like a month and a half, 2 months. And they were getting videos from the people on the ground, and Susan had a contact in there, and they were sending her the stuff to get out. This is when Mega Upload was still around. And they used Mega Upload to upload the stuff to so then people could go pull it from there.
Wonder why Mega Upload got shut down.
Yeah, exactly. And we built the site basically to expose what was going on. And man, we got the website itself. We built a separate site because we knew it was going to draw so much fire. And not only did Obama's Libya draw fire, but I had the videos posted on this special page on Federal Jack. It's still there, but the videos are just dead because we had to remove the site. And I'll tell you why in a sec. But we drew like heavy fire to the point where we actually had somebody file a fake child porn charge on us because one of the videos showed that it was a little boy. He was like, I don't know, maybe 4 years old, 5 years old, and the rebels had tortured him, and they had stuffed a metal pole up his ass, and it came out his hip in the front.
Yep, I remember that one.
He was pierced.
I saw that.
Literally, yes, literally. I mean, and I wanted to expose that because, that's heinous to do to a child. And I think the world needs to see what's going on, so they say no, okay? People deserve to know the truth. That's the only way we're going to get through this.
Did the video of the young boy with his bottom jaw blown off, did that come through you guys also?
Yep, I put that up there as well.
Yeah, that was very disturbing. That one really got me. I actually cried over that one.
Yep, that made it out to YouTube, and then that went viral on YouTube. And there was a bunch of stuff that we wanted to. Luckily, RT wasn't afraid to air a lot of this stuff. I got to give credit to RT because they're the only. I guess they're not really mainstream, but they're the only news channel that actually has people that can watch them on TV in their home. You know what I mean? Without having to go online or whatever.
I look at RT as opposition propaganda, though. I mean, they let out. There are some good people on there.
You have to understand what it is, but it's good to take clips from there and be able, because they do at least show the truth and have dissenting opinions on.
Right, but that's just because they're working the Russian propaganda towards America. So,
well, of course, when you watch the Russian, because there's RT America and then there's RT, and when you watch RT, they kind of, they love what's his name, Putin, or as Bush used to call him, Pooty Poot.
They're all buddies anyway. That's why they have nicknames. How creepy is that?
How creepy is that? Before I was even like wide awake, I always knew I knew about the Illuminati since I was a little kid, but I didn't, I even went to the extent of I have the all-seeing eye tattooed on my chest, And I got it when I was in the military, and my warrant officer said, "What is that?" I said, "That's your boss. You better understand who that is." And people ask me why I have it, and I say, "You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. If you understand, it's a reminder of what I'm up against." So when I get caught up in other things, and I let my, once in a while, you know how life, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter how smart and how awake you are, life catches up to you and always finds some way to get you mired back down in the BS. And that's my reminder. When I look in the mirror, that's my reminder of what's going on, and that I got to keep my eye on the ball.
That's an excellent way to put it. And, that you do have to remember every day what it is we're fighting for, because it's very easy to get sucked back into the stupidity of TV or, drug use or alcohol use or, whatever. Using that stuff on a regular, regular way is fine and dandy. But when you start really using it to forget about things and just try to tune all this out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have too many people doing that nowadays. People just like, you know what, I can't do anything about it, so what do I care? What do I want to know? And that gets me so frustrated when I hear that from people when we start talking about this stuff, when I'm out. Do
you find it hard to talk to like your friends and your family, either one of you two? About this stuff? Like, do they look at you like, you're crazy?
I had this guy at work, and we always had great, rapport. We always had, good conversations and stuff. But when I start talking about this stuff, he's like, oh, here we go. We got the lizard people and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, go on my website. I have videos up there. I've got links to all you guys, like you, Popeye. I've got, Burmis, all these different links. I've got 20-something links up there. Just breeze through and look at some of the evidence. I said, that's all I ask. And of course, a week or two later, I'm talking to somebody else and we're talking about something, the Fed or whatever. And he was like, oh, here we go. I'm like, did you go on the website? Well, no. I'm like, exactly. So don't start bashing me and what I'm talking about until you go look for yourself. I'm not telling you to listen to me and believe everything I say. I'm telling you to go and search out for yourself.
Right. Yeah. And I've actually found over the past 5 months, 6 months, people seem to be a little more receptive to what, at least me, or I don't know if you're seeing it also, Popeye, or even you, Johnny, if you see it all, but people seem to be a little more receptive all of a sudden over the past couple months. People are actually asking me questions about things when I start talking about it. They're intrigued. They want to know a little bit more. They're not as tinfoil hat wearing, they're not like, oh, you're a tinfoil hat wearing fool, as much now as they were 6 months, a year ago, the people I encounter.
Because they're starting to realize, like when you told them, hey, they're bringing around a police state, they're bringing about this, oh, they would never do that. Well, and then they see them doing it and they see them bragging about it and saying how you need to do it. It's for your protection. It's for the kids. It's to keep you safe from the terrorist in your sock drawer. And people are like, but there's no terrorist in my sock drawer. Like I tell people, if there's this terrorist in your closet or under your bed like they want you to believe, you're doing a piss poor job of protecting your home. I don't have that problem in my house because people would be shot dead. Right. And it should be the same way in everybody else's house. Or if you have a baseball bat or whatever the case may be, you should be able to protect yourself and you should be on point. So there should be no terrorist in your closet. And if there is one hiding in your closet, it's your fault. So it just goes to show you how absurd that whole statement is. Okay. First of all, I would rather everybody on the street be armed than disarmed. Because you know what? I'm not going to have to worry about crime in my neighborhood.
Yep. Exactly. That's why I love living in Florida. It's one of the advantages here. We do have our disadvantages. I'm more in a rural area compared to where you're at. I got a good idea where you're at about. I got family out there. Yeah.
Well, and where I am, there's a lot of, the quote unquote liberal idiots that buy into what's going on with this, the stand your ground stuff. And people are like, oh my God, stand your ground. It takes lives. First of all, it doesn't matter if someone uses it as a defense. I could use, God told me to do it as a defense. Should we ban the Bible and religion now too? I mean, don't even get me started on that. But
I might not be against that.
Yeah, that might not be such a bad thing. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's just insane. Let them use it as a defense. When it goes to court, the judge goes and the jury goes, nope, sorry, that's not what the law states. Next, you can't use it as a defense if blah, 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 blah. I mean, the law says, first of all, like in Zimmerman's case, I've read the stand your ground law, okay? The law states that if you are the aggressor in the situation, like Zimmerman was, you have to do everything in your power to get the hell out of there without using deadly force, because you were the aggressor in the situation.
Right. Yep.
You know,
well, that's just a basic laws when you go get your carry conceal permit to begin with.
Of course.
That's in the law here in Florida, that forget the stand your ground. That's part of the concealed carry.
But they don't want you to be able to defend yourself, Sean. Why should you be able to defend yourself?
Well,
why should you have that right? Where, I live in a different state, and where I live, you're not allowed to do that. So why should you have that right in your state? Well, because you don't live in my state, dick. Okay. Thank you.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Hey, Popeye, I don't know how long you wanted to stay with us. Would you want to stick around through the break? Maybe take a
sure. I don't care. I'll hang.
Cool. Johnny, want to bring up a break? Get us into that.
Yeah, I gotta bring my backup player into play here. So I've got everything up here. What I'll do is I'll just mute you guys. I'll mute my microphone so you guys could actually talk, and I'll have the channel muted. So whatever you guys are talking about, it's not going to go over the air anyway. So,
okay.
But that way you could talk without having to hear the music and all that stuff. So it's going to be about 5-6 minutes roughly, and we'll be back here in a few minutes.
All right. Talk to you in a few, brother.
All right, man. This is the first 52. Johnny English, Sean Raspatello. We have Popeye on from federaljack.com. He was nice enough to come on last minute, and we do appreciate that. We're having a good time, man. We're having a great conversation. We're going to continue the conversation after the break. So everybody go do what you got to do. Whatever it is you do during these breaks, I don't know. I know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to tell you. So we'll be back here in a few minutes. Hopefully. I think we're clear of the storms. So we'll be back. Johnny English, Sean Raspatello with Popeye. Right here on the First 52, WKOA Live.com. And we're back. The First 52 right here on WKOA Live.com. And I just figured out why my commercials aren't playing. I just figured it out. It's not Sam Broadcaster, because they wouldn't play in iTunes either. And I just remembered, I'm not going to get into the dirty, filthy details, but earlier today...
User error.
Yeah, welcome back. Sean Raspatello and Popeye from federaljack.com. I just figured it out. I did a lot of rearranging of files today. I was trying to streamline things and get everything in their proper, a little bit more reasonable order, so I didn't have files all over the place, and it didn't hit me that I have to re-import, because obviously the files weren't where they were before. So, duh.
User error.
I've had a busy day today, okay? I've had a really busy day. But anyway, that's the deal. We're back anyway. Just to let you know, in lieu of the commercials, I'll do it live. Fuck it, I'll do it live. iTunes, go to iTunes. You can get us under the JES World Media. You can get all of our podcasts, all the podcasts on the First 52, my show, the Just the Tip, the Johnny English Show, Just the Tip, and even some old Hammer Down radio shows and some old Johnny English shows, some of the dirty, filthy, type stuff that we used to do way back in the day. So all those are available on iTunes and Stitcher. You can get them on Stitcher, Smart Radio, and
don't forget that if you think you have a show or you're interested in starting a show, email Dave at WKOAlive.com.
And be ignored.
What's that?
Email Dave at WKOAlive.com and be ignored.
Forto, what are you doing?
So, yeah, any guys we've got a couple guys that are thinking about doing shows on here. Email Dave at WKOAlive.com, and we'll try to get you set up as quickly as possible. We've got the one show that I'm not sure yet. I haven't heard from them personally, so I don't know if they're still wanting to do it on Fridays. We'd only be doing their last 2 hours, so they do a 3-hour show, but Rob Revere conflicts with their first hour, so obviously I'm going to keep Rob on. Rob's been good to us, and I play his show on Friday night, so I want to keep Rob in there definitely. And Fortoad's still bitching. Email me. Don't send it to my Facebook account. I'm pretty sure I DM'd you on Twitter if you want to get technical about it, sir. But anyway, But so do all that. Go to the website. Go to WKOAlive.com, and you've got a ton of links there. I've got a rotator up now that actually has a link to the podcast site and just a million different things. There is no end to the website right now. It could take you days to peruse through it. So just get on and look. All right. I shouldn't have to come to your house and do it for you. You should be able to get on and find everything that you need right there on the site.
That's right. Exactly.
And one more thing. Amazon.com. If you're going to buy anything from Amazon.com, please use the links on our site. And we will get a kickback that will help pay for the site. I mean, in lieu of you guys donating money, and I do appreciate the recent donations. They're fantastic. We appreciate that. You have no idea. But if you're going to go to Amazon.com and you're going to buy something anyway, you may as well. Oh yeah, Info Assassin. We've got his show. He just did a 30-minute show. I've still got to listen to it, and we're going to put that up on the site too. So we're going to have him on, playing his podcast. And we have Shark Meat. I play his podcast. We're growing. We're in a growing stage. We're in the infancy stage, even though I've been doing this for a while. But since we changed formats to this, this type deal, we're still growing. But go to Amazon.com through our website. I've got tons of banners up. Just click on. If you're going to buy something, buy it through our link. And then, we might get a little kickback, and it might be enough to, keep us going month to month. I'm not trying to we're not going to get rich off of it. I just want to be able to pay the bills.
And we're Johnny, you're gonna work on putting the merchandise back up, right?
Yes, here soon, very, very soon, I'm gonna have the merchandise where you can buy T-shirts and hats and whatever it is. We do make a little bit off that, like $1 or $2, so that would also help. That's gonna help too. So however you guys can help out, we appreciate it. You can get some gear, some swag, as they say. You can get some swag. And, sport it around and go to Amazon through our site. That's all I got to say.
There you go. And, hey, Popeye, did you hear about the experts speak out? Going to be here over in Tampa area next 2 weeks from now?
Yes, I heard that they were coming down. I haven't gotten really a chance to Richard Gage. I actually have to call him and get a chance to line him up for an interview. But no, I haven't gotten a chance to really delve into it like I should. I actually should. I have to admit, I haven't given it as much attention as I should. This week's been really bad. My computer died on Monday on me.
And now you're having Facebook fights.
Oh, dude, yeah, Facebook. I'm locked out of my account. I can't even get in. They said I'm locked out of my account for security reasons, and they ask me to identify pictures of people. And I always, I get through that phase, but then they want a cell phone number. And I'm like, well, I don't have a cell phone, so I have a Skype phone. I'm like, what do I do with that then? And they're like, well, I don't know. Because they really don't say anything. I get an automated email is what I get. That's what I get, which is their way of saying, well, F you. That's basically what that is. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm locked out of my account for security reasons. I don't know why. I don't know what security reason. Nobody could hack my Facebook account, and I don't piss anybody off that would want to hack my account. I actually have friends that are hackers.
And if they were going to, really, what would they get off of?
They're not going to get anything. There's no personal information about me whatsoever on there. It's for my show. So it's just stupid. It's dumb, dude. It's Facebook's being petty, and I'm not giving them a cell phone number. They can have a photocopy of my middle finger. That's what they're going to get.
Too funny. Well, they're going to be in Tampa on Wednesday, June 27th, and Thursday, June 28th. They're going to be at 2 different venues in the Tampa area. I know it's a little bit of a drive, but I will be broadcasting live from the event on the 27th here on WKOA Live. If you'd like to take the drive up, and be with us, I'd be happy to have you sit in with me. Johnny's got to work that night, so he won't be with me. I got some other guys some of our chat guys that are going to be up there helping me out. It's going to be a really interesting event. I'm going to be streaming it also. So, the invite's out there for you. You're not that far. If you can make it, if you can't, of course, it's understood. But
I would love to come. Unfortunately, I have physical therapy for the next few weeks because I'm still recovering from hand surgery that I had a couple weeks ago to repair some nerve damage in my right hand. So
that sucks.
Yeah, just you guys know, don't join the military.
Is that where it happened?
Yeah, I got hurt a long time ago, and they didn't take care of it when they should have, and it they blew it off for years and years and years. And because they blew it off for years, the problem got worse until the point where then it required surgery to fix it, when in the first place it probably wouldn't have if they had just done what they should have to begin with. But you know how, I don't have to explain things to you about the government or the military.
Yeah, that's for sure. During the break, you were reading me a very interesting section that kind of relates. First, let's go over the whole pyramid thing you were talking about when we went in the break. And then let's read that section out of the Biggest Secret by David Icke that you had read to me, because that was it really explained exactly where you were going.
I'll bring up the picture first so I can show you, I can like accurately explain it. Where, that the coordinates that Salty gave in the chat room, when you zoom in, and by the way, that is a star, David, totally. And if they say, that's not, that's just a random pattern, right? Because right angles are random in nature. Idiots. So
you can see you can see the dozer marks where they turned around and made, come on.
Oh, of course. But no, it's, hey, the weather did that. So, Martians. Yeah, if you zoom in about halfway, like between the plus and the negative there on the zoom, about halfway, when you're looking at it, you have to be looking at the green arrow. When you're looking at it, to the lower left of the green arrow, there's two pyramids. There's one that's kind of, it's not really a full pyramid. It's in the shape of a pyramid, and some of the lines aren't fully, there's two portions in the small right-hand corner that aren't complete, but if you look at it, it almost looks like a semi-pyramid with a capstone at the top, and it's right to the left of it. There's, you'll see there's, in there, it's kind of, that's not the big noticeable one. That one my eye caught. That's not the big, really noticeable one. The one that's right in your face is the one because there's two of them. If you're looking at it, to the lower to left, all the way, there's one that's to the left, and it's, then there's one underneath that.
Right.
The one underneath, you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one by the road, the one closest to the road going into it.
Yes, where the bottom of it butts up against that dirt road.
Right.
If you look at it, right at the top, doesn't it look like there's energy emanating from the top of it, like a signal, like a radio signal?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yep, exactly. I wasn't looking at it when you described it to me before, but now I see it.
You see it? And then right above that is the other one. If you look, you can see it kind of looks like a pyramid, like a bigger pyramid, where that black, I guess that's a lake right there. It kind of looks like a big ink stain.
Right, it's got like a radio wave coming out the top of it. I see that one too. Yep. And
then above that is kind of the uncompleted one that has the little like half somewhat capstone at the top. So it's just very interesting that there's certain.
And the one on the right there, to the upper right of the green arrow, it almost looks like the seeing eye in the very center of it when you're at a certain zoom level. Like I'm almost fully zoomed in, but not quite. And as I'm looking at it, it looks like I'm like 4 notches down from fully zoomed. It kind of looks like that seeing eye in the middle of it. When you see that pyramid with the eye in the middle, like you were describing on your chest. It's almost what I see there in that one. So,
well, you can see this isn't an accident, And then when you zoom in to the coordinates that Salty gave you, that is without a doubt, I guess they would call it the Star of David. And you can see that even looks like, is that macadam? Is that blacktop? Or is that just, that might be quarry press?
Yeah.
If it's not blacktop, it might be QP, which is what they put down underneath before they put macadam. It's called quarry press, which that might be what that is. But still, that's like a road.
And you guys, the funny thing, this is the first time I'm looking at this. I didn't get to follow the guys when they were going through it a couple weeks ago, or about a week and a half ago.
You can see the dump truck tire marks.
You can see the dump truck tire marks. You can see the missiles. You can also see impact. So it's like it's an old range. It looks like almost, because you see like the craters all around the center, like it was a range at one time. Or something with right around. There's tracks going around.
They bombed the hell out of it.
Yeah, so I don't know if they were.
Just so you know, I believe those are Patriot missiles, because the Patriot replaced the system that I worked on, the Hawk, and those look like Patriots to me. And of course, the radar, that's a radar unit right dead center. That's actually a mobile radar unit, because we used basically the same exact thing on the system that I used. And if you go down, there's actually, I'm trying to zoom out and find it. There's actually another pyramid, but to give you an idea, the Hawk system, much like Mini, the one that's got the circles, that giant pyramid that's got like circles around it, which is basically a road. It's roads that go all the way around it. Do you see that kind of the lower left? It's on the other side of the airport.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got to zoom out more.
If you go across the airport and zoom out, you'll see circles. You'll see like.
Oh, yeah. I see the circles.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
There's that pyramid there, and it looks like, doesn't that look like radio energy waves emanating from the top of it?
Well, that actually in the center of that is a command center for another missile. It's for that missile. That's the command center for the missiles on the other side, I believe, because you always have to have that at the highest point. And they usually, if they can't make them, or if there isn't a natural high point, then, by the way, also to the right of that, there's also looks like 4 more missiles on a smaller version of that big one with the rings. There's only 2 rings.
Oh, I see it.
You see that? If you zoom in
real
real
right
close.
by the roadway.
Yeah, there's like 4 more missiles right there pointed all in the same direction.
And there's what looks like Bradley fighting. No, those are either Humvees or Is that a Bradley or a Hummer? Man,
I can't.
That
zoom
really
in
looks
far
like.
enough.
Go here. Let me give you the. I don't know if I guess it changes the coordinates, right? If I move it, no, it doesn't.
You talk about by the missiles, the 2 vehicles. I see 4 missiles, and then there's 2 vehicles to the north of them.
Right.
I mean, if you where that pyramid is with what looks like the energy waves emanating from it, if you look right to the right, in between that and there's it looks like the airport runways, right by the airport runways, like it would be to the left of the runways. There's a tiny little spot.
I gotcha.
Okay, if you zoom in on it, it looks like there's some sort of facility.
Training facility of some sort, maybe like a small. I
don't know if this is a training facility. It looks
village.
Really, I don't know what the hell. Maybe it is. It could have. That's what they could be. It could be used for. But it's just odd that they.
Yeah, because I do see the Bradleys that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, those are Bradleys, right? Because that's what they look like. From, at least in my
some
eye.
kind of vehicle like.
No, I think they're Bradleys because if you look at the one, you can see it's got its hatch down.
All I can say is, with this kind of defense, this airport, there's something there that they definitely want to keep people away from, because with an air defense system like that, there's something there. I don't know what's there.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder why do you need to have, the test range, whatever, but why would you have Bradleys? It doesn't make sense that you'd have Bradleys by a, unless they were there for protection next to it, not for training, for protection.
They don't test missiles in Florida. So it's not training. They test the missiles at White Sands in New Mexico. And
what was the base they blew the Moab up at down here when they? I remember I was still in the Guard when they did that. I just can't remember what base it was. They dropped that thing but it was out in the middle of like nowhere. But I know they tested, but it wasn't a missile. That's a bomb. Big difference.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, the Moab, mother of all bombs.
Oh, I do remember hearing that. I didn't know they tested that down here.
Did you see?
I think it was up north, because that's where all the CIA guys up in the Panhandle.
Do you see the fighter jets also on that airport?
Well, that I don't look at too crazily, because I grew up in South Jersey, and right outside Atlantic City Airport is one of the main air defense, National Guard air defense units.
Well, so what are they?
That's Desert Camo.
F4. What are they use? Are those F4 Phantoms?
No.
How old is this photo?
I don't think those are F4s. Those look like F-18s, maybe.
Yeah, I gotta zoom in. What end of the runway are those on?
The one there's a bunch of Bradleys parked right by him too. And those they look like old burned out Hulk Bradleys. That might be. I wonder if that's like a.
Oh, I see them. Yeah.
But see, those
look like F4 Phantoms.
But those
they do look like F4s.
But they're
and then if you look, some of the planes are dismantled. They're busted up. This is probably a training site for right here.
Maybe it is.
I wonder because there's also some beat up Bradleys next to it. So that maybe this is a mock airport. But for what?
There's also a white
drone fly-ins. Maybe.
Did you see the white jet that's by itself at the very end?
There's a couple of them. There's one to the left there.
Yep.
There's one on the runway, it looks like.
Now, those look like F4 Phantoms.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those look like F4 Phantoms. This has got to be a training facility.
No, I'm looking at the camo. I'm looking at the ones with the desert camo. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lined up all together.
Yeah.
It's in a dark spot in the middle of that run on the right side of the runway. There's like the main runway, and then to the right of that, there's on the other side there's another runway. You'll see a rectangle that's all greened out, and you'll see six jets sitting there. But that's desert camo, so those are newer jets. Those are the ones I was talking about before. So the ones you're talking about.
What's the best place to hide something?
In plain sight.
Yep.
That's amazing. I don't know if you guys remember about a year and a half, 2 years ago, the white vans that were all parked at that one facility. That was here in Florida also. It was up by Jacksonville. And there had to be 5,000 white vans all lined up in military formation almost in this airport.
Those look like old Russian MiGs.
That's what I was thinking when I first, the two F4s at the top there.
Yeah, and then when you look down at that patch the patch that Johnny's talking about with the camo planes, they look like old Russian MiGs. So I wonder if this is some sort of weird training facility, but for what? I mean, it's set out like a whole airport. It looks like a real from the satellite. Unless you zoomed in and knew what you were looking at, a civilian would probably think this was an active airport.
Well, we just had the UN training, in Tampa, getting ready for the RNC. What was that? 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. They were doing that. There's schools all throughout that area. Matter of fact, Rob Revere, one of the other guys that is on the network here, he has his own network also. He tweeted out a picture about a month or two ago. His kid's elementary school has a UN flag flying at it, and he's not very far from there. So there's a lot, It could
be a training facility. I mean, they have a lot of. It looks like it's a mock airport, is what it looks like, and it really looks like. I mean, it's set up. They actually went to the extent of. I'll bet you those missiles. I'll bet you that stuff's not even live. I'll bet you they're dummies. But it's weird that they set it up in the Star of David. That is weird. But they really went through the effort of. I mean, there's a lot of old rusty wrecks out here. I'm looking at all the different spots now. I'm zooming in as we're talking, and you can see these buildings. They haven't been maintained in forever. The rooftops are all rusty and shot out. But you can see that there's definitely been activity with vehicle tires and treads and everything else. This is definitely a training facility. I wonder what that.
Those are old. There's There's a shitload of old deuce and a half sitting.
You see them?
Yeah, there's a ton of them, and those are. I mean, they haven't used deuce and a half since I was in.
Oh, that Star of David is fresh cut because there's tire tracks all around it.
Well, yeah. That's why I'm saying it was probably set up when this facility was set up, because a lot of the portions. You can see the stuff that they're using, and that's active. You can see they had to put fresh, whatever, if it's concrete or quarry process, whatever it is, whatever or crushed stone, whatever it is that they put down. You can see in a lot of spots it's fresh, and in some spots it's not. And we did have a bunch of hurricanes, 5-6 years ago. So if this thing was sitting out there unused, it would make sense that they they probably sent in an engineering team.
I just don't get it. I just don't get the Star of David.
That doesn't make sense.
Now the strange thing is here though. I went a little further away. If you go,
I just found. I think
north of the runway. Zoom out a little bit, and you'll see just north to the right of the runway. You'll see like a bunch of circles that are fading out. To the left of that, down that roadway, if you zoom in, there's actually what looks like an active community or buildings with vehicles parked at them. It is a training facility. That looks like it's a mock town almost, because there's no roofs on some of the buildings, which would be entry buildings. You see where I'm looking?
Go to the south by Bill Bay. Is it Bill Bay? If you can find Bill Bay, it's kind of to the south east, and then there's another set of circles. But there's nothing.
There's circles all over the place.
But there's nothing there. It's like no, there is something. There's a vehicle right dead center.
There's another pyramid. I know what you're talking about, right? Where it says Bill Bay. There's a pyramid down there, and the circles aren't emanating from the top of the pyramid. Now they're emanating from where the eye would be.
Yep.
Like Bill Bay.
And
when you zoom out a little bit, Sean, go about halfway, and then scroll downwards. And you'll see where it says MacDill Air Force Base, and you'll see the active field and everything there. To the right and then down, where you'll see it says Avon Park Wildlife Management Area. To the right and down, you'll see it'll say Bill Bay, and then it'll stick right out as soon as you see it. You'll see the pyramid, and there's another one but this time the circles are emanating from where the eyeball would be.
That's another runway, and there's more jets. I just found more.
You know,
jets.
the Air Force is really, there's a lot of hidden symbolism in there, just in the stuff. Look, they have a big star for their symbol.
Look at the triangle. Look at the triangle. There's a perfect triangle where that one that you just we were talking about, the pyramid. Look at that perfect triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the all-seeing eye triangle, and
that's where the waves are kind of eminent. Actually, there's two of them in there. If you look at it, there's two. There's two pyramids, and actually the one is like a miniature mirror of the other one. You see, it's even got the little lines, the little circles.
Oh, it is. Look at that.
Like a reflection of it almost.
That's crazy.
Now, what the hell? There's some.
I wonder what they use. Oh, and look. Zoom in and look what's to the left of it.
Yeah,
you're gonna crap your pants. Look what's to the left of it.
Yeah.
You're talking about that bright, like flash looking thing.
There's another Star of David.
There's another Star of David with the same setup, with the same missile setup and the radar thing.
Yep.
So now there's two of them with pyramids all over the place. Okay, now I have to read this thing about the Star of David so people understand why this would. Because they're probably listening, going, "What are these guys crazy? Who gives a crap?" So,
they have no idea.
During the break, Johnny, I was talking to Sean, and I went and I dug out my copy. I have a physical. I like books. I'm a book collector, and I have a physical copy of Ike's book, The Biggest Secret. If anybody wants a copy of this, just email me. I'll give you my email, and I'll send you an ebook copy. Or actually, if you go to federaljack.com. It should be. We have an ebook section when you go right to the front page. You'll see the slider right next to it. There's a little black picture, and it says ebook section. Click on that, scroll down, and it should say David Icke ebooks, and just click on that folder, and it'll ask you, do you want to download this, whatever, and download it. When you open it up, there should be a copy of The Biggest Secret in there.
And then the IDN will give a knock on your door.
You're right. And,
I'm kidding with you, brother.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. I've already had the FBI knock on my door last year, so. Are you an extremist? Do I look like an extremist? Well, I guess I would to them. So, it's on page 215. So make sure anybody is interested. It's page 215, what I'm going to read you from. And, it's in David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret. Again, you can find it in the ebook section. And if it's not there when you download it, because I believe it is in that file folder, but if it's not, just let me know and I'll email you. Just hit me up at info@federaljack.com, info@federaljack.com, and I'll email you the ebook version of it. Anyway, page 215. As I told you guys earlier, we got a little sidetracked, and I forgot to get into this, and I couldn't remember his name. It was Solomon, and I couldn't remember the exact details, and I didn't want to, misconstrue it or screw anything up. So during a break, I looked it up, and I'll read you really quick the little section from the book so the listeners can get an understanding of why it's a little shocking that all this crap is all over the place. And by the way, the Star of David, when you look at it, what is it? It's two pyramids, one laid over top of the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, and that'll make sense when I get into this. So on page 215, he's talking about the Rothschilds, and he does mention the word reptile in there. But again, if you even just look past that, okay, if you want to just look past that, let it go. And when you read, you're going to read that all this stuff. Again, it goes back with these bloodlines, and it's connected to ancient Babylon and the Sumerian texts and Sumer. So he's talking about the Rothschilds right now. And in here, he talks about the Rothschild's real last name. Like I told Sean, their real last name isn't Rothschild; it's Bauer. Interesting that the hero in 24, his name is Jack Bauer.
Oh,
yeah. See, Bauer, they were Germans, and their name was very well known with like Satanism and black magic and other stuff. So they needed to change their name, and for a couple other reasons. So. And when you do the research on this, you'll see. I'm not pulling this out of my butt. This is all real. Their last name was Bauer. They changed it. Rothschild means red shield, and that was their crest above their door, was a red shield. That was the family crest. So that's where the name Rothschild comes from. And he gets into this. You see it on page 215. So I'll read. Here's where I was going to pick it up. Okay. The Rothschild banking dynasty was created by Mayer Amschel Bauer. The families changed their names to hide their origins and use the creation of titles. And it's been a great help in hiding their names and stuff. So Bauer changed his name to Rothschild, which came from the red shield, which hung over the door of his house in Frankfurt, Germany. Red has been the color symbolizing revolution since the ancient origins of the Brotherhood, which is why the Russian revolutionaries were called the Reds. On the shield was a hexagram, a Star of David, or the Seal of Solomon, as it's known, and the same symbol is now on the flag of Israel. People think it's a Jewish symbol because of its name, the Star of David, and the use, but this is nonsense. One was found on the floor of a 1,200-year-old Muslim mosque, which stood on the site of present-day Tel Aviv. The Jewish writer O.J. Graham, in her work, The Six-Pointed Star, says, quote, "The six-pointed star made its way from Egyptian pagan rituals of worship to the goddess Aseroth and Molech." Where have you heard that one before? Then it progressed through the magic arts, witchcraft, including Arab magicians, druids, and Satanists, through the Kabbalah to Isaac Luria, a Kabbalist in the 16th century, to Mayer Amschel Bauer, Rothschild, who changed his name to this symbol, to Zionism, to the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament, to the flag of Israel, and its medical organization, the equivalent to the Red Cross. End quote. So the very name Rothschild comes from an ancient esoteric symbol connected to Egypt as Molech, or Nimrod, the god of sacrifice. The hexagram only became used by the Jewish hierarchy as their symbol with the emergence of the Rothschilds, and it has absolutely nothing to do with King David, as the Jewish leaders well know. It is on the flag of Israel because Israel is not the land of the Jews. It is the land of the Rothschilds and those who dictate to them from even higher up the Brotherhood pyramid.
So let that soak in.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a lot there.
It's a lot, and it's kind of deep. But when you listen to it and you read it, you understand. And when you research it, I urge you not to take my word for it or what Ike wrote about in his book. One thing I like about him is he gives references to everything. And I've gone and I've even purchased some of the books, the older books that he's gotten some of this stuff from, so I could have them myself just as reference points. Especially when it comes to what I just read you, I mean, he's on point. This is no joke. This is the reality of things. So, and look, this comes from, I don't want to hear anybody saying I'm anti-Semitic, because my grandmother was a Dutch Jew that was in a concentration camp in World War II. Okay, so I'm not anti-Semitic by any means, but I'm honest about what the reality of the situation is. And if my grandmother were alive, she would be sickened at what she was put through and her friends went through, being used to do to other innocent people. It doesn't matter what color skin they are, where they're born. I don't care. You don't do that to other human beings. So it's important to research this kind of stuff, because it's used against, not only is it used against people in the Middle East, it's used against you right here. Right at home. Look, why do they have hexagrams and pyramids and stuff all over the place? Remember, they said that the hexagram comes from Egypt. Now, again, if you look at a six-pointed star, what is it? It's two pyramids just on top of each other.
Right. Isn't all of DC? Excuse me. Isn't all of DC basically laid out between the shape of an owl and pentagrams and?
Yeah, there's an owl and stuff in there. The guy that laid out DC, Pierre L'Enfant, was a Freemason. Right.
Yeah, because I remember reading about that and how the statue on top is the goddess of light, I believe, and she faces the wrong way, really, as far as I can't remember exactly. I know Mark Dice has covered it before, but it's something about the way she faces and what she stands for that it's a big thing within the whole Illuminati and also.
Oh, all of it. There's so much symbolism. You know why there's a reflecting pool right in front of the Washington Monument? Because when you stand at the far end of the reflecting pool and you look at the Washington Monument, if you have the reflecting pool in between you and the monument, okay, and you look at it, you will see the complete reflection of the monument in the reflecting pool. It looks like it's upside down. What is that? As above, so below.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is.
That's from Pirates of the Caribbean.
And do you know why?
Yeah.
Do you know what that whole thing is? It's not even the Washington Monument. It's an obelisk. Is what it is. And there's actually other ones. There's a more famous one that's there's one in London and one in New York. It's called Cleopatra's Needle. And they came from Egypt. They're thousands of years old. It just sits down in I think it's out in Central Park is where it sits in New York.
Now, it's funny you bring all this up because I was just watching some kind of show the other night on the History Channel or one of these channels, and the whole deal was they were talking about pyramids, and they were talking about the pyramids in Egypt, what they were really there for, and there's this theory that they had a graphic illustration of one, and they had where the chambers, there were 4 tubes or whatever that went down into the king's chamber and the queen's chamber. And, most people, at least when I was going to school, it was taught that they were burial pyramids, that they were just, right. That's all they were there for. Well,
that's what we were taught. Yeah.
That's what we were taught. Well, apparently they said there was something fed into it. I can't remember exactly what was fed in, but basically it made hydrogen. And the hydrogen caused this thing to emit a microwave beam out one of the slots that went up but they don't know where it was going, where it was facing. And they were talking about some of the different, that they were basically, the pyramids were actually power plants.
Yep. A lot of the energy that they harnessed was what's called, Tesla referred to it as 0-point energy.
Right.
It's this energy grid that actually exists around the Earth and that we could tap into and have limitless amounts of free electricity for everybody. More than enough.
Yeah, because he was
more than enough.
Yeah, he was actually working on that, was putting up these towers, and I think what they ran out of money.
J.P. Morgan.
Yeah.
No, J.P. Morgan, they didn't run out of money. Morgan came, he saw it, and his remark was, where do I put the meter or something to that effect? And Tesla was like, you don't. Everybody gets free electricity. And Morgan went, what? I'm not going to be able to make money off this? And he said, no. And he went, tear it down. And he stopped funding them.
Isn't that pretty much what they use to transmit HARP? I mean, I've done a lot of study into HARP and chemtrails and things. And you have the magnetic poles that wrap around and it's layered from outer.
Well, they shoot energy into the ionosphere. It's a little different, but that's a good question as to where do they get enough energy to where, you would need a lot of electricity to shoot that, energy from HARP. So the question is, where are they pulling that from? And how come they're not having blackouts in Alaska because of it? If they were pulling it from the local power grid, all the other towns in the vicinity should be, at least Anchorage should be losing power or having brownouts.
Yep.
And they don't. So the question is, are they perhaps using Tesla's some sort of 0-point energy collecting method to get the energy to power those devices? I mean, it's not, people can say that's science fiction, but no, it's not. I mean, Tesla's the guy that invented the remote control. So the whole reason you can sit on your fat ass and watch television from your couch is because of Nikola Tesla. So I wouldn't say it's all science fiction. He invented the remote control the same time he invented his death ray, which is what HARP is based off of. Right. So this stuff exists.
Yeah, it's amazing how much technology is out there.
The whole thing about the pyramids being power plants, I mean, just think about that for a second and what that would actually do to religion, to all these different things that have been going on, because that more or less alludes to, and then I listened to somebody else on some other show, we're talking about that, the humans have been around a hell of a lot longer than what they say we've been around. And it is a continuing cycle that eventually we end up blowing ourselves up. We do something stupid, and then we start over again. And we have to go, basically dig ourselves out of the dust and go back to the Stone Age and then work our way back forward again. And we're dangerously close right now. Obviously, we possess the weapons to do it. There's enough nuclear weapons to blow the Earth up 400 times. So, I wonder what that's going to do and how they've tried so hard to keep that a secret for so many years, and what exactly that's going to do to religion if they actually are able to prove all this stuff and get this information out. Because I never heard that theory on the pyramids until I just happened to catch this show. You don't see it in the mainstream media. It's tough to find that stuff. You have to hunt for it.
You ever hear of the Baghdad battery?
No.
Okay. I think it was in the early 1900s. They found these batteries, these clay pots in Baghdad, and it turns out that they were actually ancient batteries. And what they did was the way they were set up, and I can't remember exactly, it was just some clay pots, some copper, and I think that was it. And there might have been maybe one other metal, but I think it was just copper that was in there. And anyway, the way they had it set up was they would put you could put like lemon or grape juice in there, and because of the acidity in it, you would actually get a charge out of one of these batteries. And they were able to the idiots at Mythbusters, prove that it was actually real. Well, at least, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I'm doing air quotes, they proved it was real. Okay, obviously it could be done and it was real, but some people didn't think, there was a lot of disinfo out there. Oh, it's fake, there's no such thing, but yes, it did exist. Now, what's interesting is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the ancient astronaut theory, but
oh, yeah.
When you start to look into that and you start to look at the hieroglyphics and stuff on the inside of these pyramids and stuff, and everybody says, well, they walked around with torches, right? Well, if they walked around with torches, there would be soot marks and singe marks on the sandstone all throughout, or not the sandstone, the stone, the heavy, because they're not made of sandstone. I forget, lime, I think they're made of, whatever the hell they're made of. There would have been scorch marks on it. And there's none. Like, after a while, yeah, you might have had some soot marks, you could wash it off, but eventually going in and out with torches, you would have burn marks on the ceilings. There are none. They can't account for that. What there are is hieroglyphics of what looks like them walking around with a flashlight. And they try to come up with, it's a picture of, this emanating something from them. It's spiritual. And it's like, why does it have to be spiritual? Why couldn't it be a piece of technology? Well, why is that too hard to grasp?
That makes you question how they even see down there. I mean,
copper mirrors and these ancient batteries.
Right.
That's what these little flashlights are made of.
Well, that's what I mean, though. You got to question how they see. You get down in these tunnels. We're carrying flashlights and generating power, and they built these things and did all these drawings down there. There had to be a way to get it down. You see in the movies they use, like you said, the mirrors to reflect light all the way down, but that only will travel so far. So what were they harnessing to travel it, to get it to travel?
Exactly. How are they producing the power? And here's a bigger question. If they were using torches, some of those spots in those pyramids go far down. How the hell were they not burning the oxygen out in the chamber they were in?
Right, and die. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like basic science, dude. Come on.
If you look at just go to the very basics of the entire equation. There's no way, I don't care how many people you had as slaves, there's no way people built those pyramids like that. It's impossible.
They couldn't do it today. They couldn't do it today.
No.
There's stones in Baalbek, Lebanon, okay? They're the heaviest stones that, for like ancient construction in the world. These stones weigh as much, it's couple 100,000 tons, okay, at a minimum, if I remember correctly. It's equal to something like 600 African elephants. These things weigh the same amount as all, like 600 African elephants, on top of one another. That's how much these things weigh. Modern technology could not move these. There's some of them. Just look up Baalbek, Lebanon, and you'll see these huge stones, and some of them are still in the ground. There's pictures of groups of people where there's like 40 or 50 people standing in front of them, so you can get like the idea of the size of these things. And modern day technology couldn't move this. Yet you're going to tell me they moved that stuff with stones, rope, and some log? Really?
With a bunch of people pulling
and a bunch of people and horses pulling it. Really?
And really? All of this would absolutely explain why our technology just all of a sudden jumps. And where people just all of a sudden come up with this new technology. It's almost like they dig it up and they find it, and as they find it, or they just release it at a certain time. They've had it all this time. I mean, just look at the stealth fighters. The stealth fighters and all that's been around since the 60s, which would, basically account for most of the UFO sightings, in the 60s, 70s, 80s. All this technology's probably been around for a long time. It's just.
What would you do if I told you the Nazis had UFOs?
Oh, I've heard that.
What, even how about the fact that the space shuttle was designed in the 1930s by a Nazi engineer?
They were ahead of their time beyond what many people know. You know what the Foo Fighters were, right? The Foo Fighters were these lights that would, for lack of a better term, attack or buzz Allied planes during World War II over Poland, and I don't know if they got as far as they might have gone over France too, but I know definitely over Poland. And right around there was one of these secret Luftwaffe bases where they were playing with a lot of these different technologies. And it might have the SS was heavily involved because the SS actually, when the way it worked was the Luftwaffe or anybody else would come up with some new technology and the SS would immediately take it over, and then they would take it away, kind of like DHS does, and they would take it away to their little secret labs and stuff. And
or like the CIA.
Yeah, well, the CIA, DHS, all of them. They all, the way they come in and swoop and grab things up even from other government agencies. That's how the SS was. And they had a lot of secret labs all over the place, and that's where the term you hear the band, the Foo Fighters, but nobody knows what that means. The Foo Fighters were, a lot of people say, well, maybe they were aliens or whatever, but according to research, and I think the guy's name is Joseph Farrell, is his name. You got to read his work.
Name, yeah.
His work into this is amazing. Another great guy, Jim Mars.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to see a book where a lot of this is consolidated and then it gives you the references, that's a good place to start, and then you chase the references down, would be Rise of the Fourth Reich by Jim Mars. I actually just interviewed Jim 2 weeks ago. We discussed this a lot. I mean, this is one of the most interesting pieces of history. I love history. Okay, I'm a big history buff, but nobody has any clue, really, unless you've researched it, how much we've been lied to about World War II.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous how much we have been. We just had Jim Mars on Dangerous Conversation about 2 weeks ago also, probably the same week. And it was amazing to talk with him because he's just so, I don't want to say simple, but he's just so old school.
He's easy to talk to, and he gets the point across, and he doesn't screw around. But he knows how to get his meaning across, and he's good at describing stuff. And dude, you got to read his book. If anybody hasn't read it, any of the listeners, you got to get his book in physical format. I always tell people to buy books, and I don't get kickbacks from any of the authors. I just tell people to buy books because, an EMP strike could happen and you wouldn't have the book in ebook format, but you'd still have the physical book and a candle, and you'd still be able to glean some knowledge.
I'm the same way. My wife yells at me. I got books everywhere. I like to have physical hold in my hand. Forget this. The e-readers or whatever the hell they are. I didn't have one.
My wife offered me one for Christmas, and I told her I didn't want one. I like the feel of pages in between my fingers.
Yep, I'm the same way, dude. Exactly the same way. So I get you 100%. And it is exactly what you said. How are we? If God forbid we lose all our technology and we have to go back to surviving how we have to survive, how are we going to share anything with our children? With our future generations, if we don't have it in a written form. I mean, it has to be in a written form. And they don't want that. They could
change history too. Remember, it's a lot harder to change history if you got to go back and print, 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000 copies of a book.
Right.
But if everybody has tablets or an iPad,
they rewrite it and re-download it on your shit. You don't even know.
Look what they did with Amazon. It did this a couple years ago with the Kindle, and it's a great example of what they can do. When people say, they couldn't do that, it's bullshit, okay? Amazon went in, and they removed copies of 1984 and Animal Farm. Very interesting that those were the two titles they removed, okay? But they removed Orwell's work from people's Kindles that had paid for it, and they said the reason they did it was because they didn't have the right to do so, and somebody went after them copyright, supposedly.
Right, so they had to remove it because they were underneath the copyright order to remove it.
Right, so they removed it off people's Kindles. Now, nobody even knew that they had the ability to do that. Like, one kid complained, he said, I don't care if I'm getting my money back. I was in the middle of writing a report on this book for school, and I had things marked off and all this other stuff, and you just, you totally ripped it away from me. You didn't ask, you just did it.
Right.
Now, either way you look at it, it's bad. One, either they're lying about the copyright thing and they did it because of the titles, 1984 and Animal Farm, okay? or there really was a copyright issue and they did it. And that goes to show you the abuse of the copyright laws.
Well, and if there was a copyright issue, let's say it was the stupid bitch from Jersey Shore. She wrote a book, right? And they did it without the copyright permission. Wouldn't they want to keep the money and just pay out the copyright price?
Yeah, well, you could just say to the person, look, what do you want from us? This is what we made on it. What would be okay for you guys? You know, if we give you, you know, we sold the book for $7.99. We sold it for $8. So how about if we give you 50% of everything that, you know, for each book, for each sale? And they say, okay. So then they go back through their system and they say, we sold this many copies of the book that tallies this minus 50%. Boom. And then they work with them in the future and say, hey, look, in the future, let's try to work out a deal. And then, of course, the future deal wouldn't be 50%, but that 50% thing would be better off than litigation.
Right.
And of course, any company would do that, and then they could continue to sell it and make money. So doing that, yeah, you're right. They shot themselves in the foot. So the question remains, why would they shoot themselves in the foot? And again, to me, that's just kind of shady that they pulled those two books.
Well, let's show another example of how they do that, and let's go down to cable boxes. I'm sure you followed Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory. What happened to the police state one?
Oh, I was one of the first people to report on it, actually, because I shot the video with my cell phone, put it up, sent it to We Are Change. We Are Change looked at it. They confirmed it. So then now there was two of us, you know, two different groups that had confirmed it. And then Jones actually got it from us. And then he looked at what I said, looked at what We Are Change said, and then he confirmed what both of us said, and he even talked about it.
Yep, exactly. It was, and just for those out there who don't know what we're talking about, anybody who DVR'd, not anybody, because I know it stayed on mine for a while, and we got a new DVR box or something, so I never got to see if it happened to me. But if you had DVR'd the police state episode of Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory that was on True TV, it was disappearing. They were remotely erasing it off of people's DVRs. And this was,
and before that, it didn't even play. The first thing that set off was it didn't play in a replay. The following week, the way they used to do it was they would play the first, it came on, I think, at like 10 o'clock or whatever. So at 9, they would play the
episode the week before.
The week before. And then they would play, so like to catch you up. And then they would play the new episode. And this time it came on and I was like, oh, let's see. And I said, let's see if they air the police state episode. And I don't have, I had like, I don't pay for cable, but I had it free at the time. It came with my apartment where I was living. So I have an adapter. I plugged it in, hooked it up to my computer, and I brought up on the computer the cable guide, like the TV guide of what was supposed to be on. And it said right in the thing, conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura, the police state episode. You know, it didn't say the police state episode, it said police state or American police state or whatever the hell the title was.
Right.
So it says that, and I'm shooting this video. It's the video's on YouTube. You can see it still. And at least it should be anyway, unless it was on one of the channels that got torpedoed.
I was going to say, which channel are we on now? 7 or 8?
Yeah,
I know
right?
I followed every single one of them. So
it might have been on one of the ones that got sunk, but there should be a copy of it out there. And you'll see me videoing, and I show that it says police state episode supposed to be on. And when I click on it on the TV tuner on the computer, it's showing you it was like America's Dumbest Criminals or something they had played. And I said, this is proof that they're censoring this. I said, this is not an accident. You don't, at big stations like this, I don't want to hear, oh, we made a mistake. No, the people that work there know that they get paid to not make mistakes.
Right.
Okay?
And this was the second season, and it was almost at the very end of the second season that one came out, wasn't it?
It was like, it was like, I would say like in the middle, like somewhere around there, like the middle or like maybe like 70% through it. And it was a very meaty episode. And I was surprised it aired the first night. We were ripping them and right from like recording them. I recorded it on a DVD and then pulled it from the DVD and we uploaded it to YouTube. And I mean, they were going viral. People were watching them. And that night, that show didn't air. The police state episode didn't air. And then the new one aired. So I made the video, I put it up, and I had some people telling me, "Oh, you're crazy. It was just a programming mistake. You crazy conspiracy theorists.
Get your tinfoil hat out."
Right. So I put it up. I had access to the older We Are Change site at the time, and I posted it up on their site. And one of the other We Are Change organizations, I forget which group it was at the time, one of them looked into it. to see, like, wow, is this, because everybody already had eyes on it. Everybody was looking out. We were surprised. Everybody was on guard already,
Right.
So they hopped on it right away, and they confirmed that I was correct, what I said in my video. And then other people, by this time, now a day and a half had gone by. Well, maybe not even a day and a half. We'll say like a day. And the other people started confirming that not only did it not air where they were, and this is all over the country, but the DVR copies of it, like Sean said, that they had on their DVR disappeared and were gone. Memory hold, like pulled. So they had recorded it, and the cable company knew who had recorded what. And they went in and they pulled it. Now I think they were only able to do that on the people that had, the cable. I don't know if they did it to the people with what's that annoying one that makes the beeping noise all the time when you use it?
TiVo?
Yeah, that one. I don't know if they were able to get into TiVo. It wouldn't surprise me if they were, but if people have their own DVRs, like their own personal ones, I don't know if they were able to pull it off that, but the ones that the cable company controls, and they're like, oh, look, my cable company gives me this DVR with this package. Mm-hmm. Those, they were able to go in and pull it right off of it and delete it like it didn't exist.
And we could also probably get into the topic of microphones and cameras involved with those same boxes. If we, I don't know if you've ever done any research on that.
I've seen some of that, and I've seen some evidence to support the fact that some people have showed that there were cameras in there. People have said, oh, they planted them, but the fact that the behavior of the system shows otherwise, it wouldn't surprise me if it were accurate. I mean, I don't know enough to say conclusively yes or no, but I do know that I could put it this way: I wouldn't put it past them to do it. I mean, look what they did with the laptops. That school,
right? Yeah, exactly.
They took a picture of a kid with Skittles or whatever, and they said he was giving out pills, and it was friggin' Skittles.
Well, no, to top it off, it was a picture in his bedroom. He had a school-issued laptop. This was up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He had Wilkes-Barre County, Pennsylvania. He had a school-issued laptop. They had over 30. It came out that there was over 33,000 photos of the students taken through the school-issued laptops. Majority of them were taken in their homes. They were remotely accessing the computers. Teachers were blogging and talking about. It was almost like entertainment. It was almost like a soap opera to them to watch these kids at home. And it came out because what Popeye was talking about, they were watching one of these kids and he was eating Skittles and they thought he had drugs and they thought he was doing drugs. So they brought him into the resource office the next day, and that blew this whole thing out of the water. And there was actually a large lawsuit settled in that county over this whole situation. So it's not bullshit that it didn't happen. It happened. They were taking that you can remotely access. I keep a piece of tape on my camera, If you're not, Johnny just got his new phone. It's got a forward-looking camera on it. He's going to be putting tape on there, he said.
Yeah, I have one on Android. Everybody I know that has an Evo, that's what I have. And I know others that have the Evos, and same thing. They put the piece of tape, a piece of black electrical tape over the front. It's got a forward-looking camera.
Just to touch on what you're, talking about Jesse Ventura, I just heard him on one of the. I don't know if it was.
Alex. He was on Alex this week.
Oh, was it? Okay. And he was on Alex Jones. They were talking about they've had the newest season has been done since I think November, and they still usually, he said what they usually did in the past is the season was done. They were done filming by November. It usually came out in somewhere in January, February at the latest. And they still haven't come out with the new episodes. They actually are re-editing the episodes. So True TV is actually editing after they've already edited and had the final copy sent to True TV so that they could play it, and they still haven't got it done.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out.
What are they editing out?
Well, it was supposed to come out. I believe February was when it really should have. It wasn't announced to come out, but that's in the rotation of when it should have. I believe that's what he said was when it was supposed to come out. And like you said, they're doing additional editing. I don't think we're going to see it.
F that. He should release the director's cut.
He should. I agree.
He should do what Oliver Stone did, because when he released JFK, they told him he had to cut out a whole bunch of stuff or they wouldn't play it in the theaters.
Yep.
He argued, he fought, said screw it. He cut it out, They released it, and then not too long afterwards, within a few years, when it came out on DVD, whatever the deal was, he, because obviously it's his work, and he's not stupid. He made it so that he was able to release the director's cut, however long, whatever the deal was he had made with them. And when he released the director's cut, that's where all the footage of, Mr. X and him talking about who killed Kennedy and this and that and the Vietnam War. And the Mr. X character was based on a very controversial figure. Well, I wouldn't say controversial, but I guess
Prouty.
Yeah,
yep.
Prouty, and to them it would be controversial. And
have you ever read his book, The Secret Team?
Oh yes, I've not only have I read that, he's got another one called JFK.
I have that one. I'm looking at them both. Actually, I wanted to tell you earlier when you're talking about George Orwell. I got Animal Farm sitting in front of me. I've got The Secret Team sitting in front of me. I got JFK sitting in front of me. So I got them all right here in front of me.
JFK is a great book, and The Secret Team's a really great book because it when people say, well, it's the CIA, and you'll hear me make when I'm on my show and stuff, or even, if I'm on with you guys and I mention the CIA, a lot of people go, oh, they're just, so cliche, the CIA, the CIA. What you don't understand, and you'll learn in that book, is that the CIA has a card-carrying member in every organization, local government, whether it's state,
federal,
town, county, the federal government, all federal agencies. The FBI, there's FBI agents that are CIA. They might go through the whole academy thing and everything, and they just manage it so that they get, or sometimes, they'll either manage it so sometimes they just happen to get into, the academy with a certain class for whatever reason, or they show up and this is your new guy and he's got credentials. That's usually how they do it, Prouty said, was that a lot of times they'll just, the guy will show up and even the people he works with have no idea who he is. They think he's really an FBI agent from wherever, and that the CIA will manufacture everything.
And people don't think about the people like Susan Lindauer or Sybil Edmonds. These people are just civilians who have been recruited into the CIA to be an eye or to translate.
She was just an asset. That's all. There's a huge difference between assets and agents. People don't understand that there's a huge, they're not the same. Assets are usually agents go out into the field and stuff. But the assets, sometimes the assets are useful when an agent can't get something done. A card-carrying agent of the CIA can't do something for whatever reason, whether it be politics or whatever. Sometimes the assets can.
Yeah, exactly.
And Susan, she's a bubbly individual.
Oh, she's so funny to talk to.
She makes a good asset because she could get somebody to let their guard down with her personality.
Oh, yeah. I talked to her on the phone when I first booked her, well before we even did the interview. I talked to her on the phone for like an hour and a half. It was a pleasure talking to her. It's really nice to talk to her. Oh, yeah, it's
really, she's really fun to talk to. She's one of those people that, even if you're talking about the most heinous things on the planet, it's at least you can sit, and she does it with the only way I could describe her is that she's bubbly. Yeah. And she's really a good person. She's not an evil person, and I don't have to agree with everything Susan, says, but when it comes to her knowledge about what's happened and the things she's been through, and, she's the real deal. She's been on my show. I've had her on multiple times, and we've gone over, Pan Am Flight 103, Libya, everything. And, she knows her stuff. Why do you think they went so hard after her and tried to put her in jail?
Oh, yeah, tried to destroy her brain. They wanted to lobotomize her, basically.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, her ruling is very interesting. Why would the judge rule that she was too crazy to stand trial, but she wasn't crazy enough to get chemically lobotomized? So she falls in that gray area right in between.
She falls in that area knowing too much is where she falls.
You see, the judge was being kind, I guess, that he didn't want to chemically lobotomize her. And for whatever reason, he didn't go ahead with that, whatever, if it was for a good reason, then, good for him, but it doesn't make up for anything else. But it's amazing how she falls into that narrow gray area, where she's not nuts to the point where you have to, chemically make her, retarded and just put her off in the corner where she's drooling on herself. But at the same time, she's not competent enough to stand trial. Well, which one is it? I thought it was a black or white situation. Oh, it's not.
Right.
Oh, you mean there's varying degrees and there's levels and so there's more to this is what you're saying, but they won't say that either. They'll just say no, whatever. This is my ruling. I'm the judge. My courtroom dismissed. End of story. And it's amazing how they dropped the charges right before the Obama administration took over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She told that whole story on DC. I'm sure she's told you. We're running late into a break here. It's not like we get paid for them, but everybody needs to go to the bathroom and things like that. You willing to stay another little bit longer? That hour went like crazy, dude. You're welcome to say no, but we're having a great time having you.
Minutes. I can hang for a few.
All right, cool. Johnny, you want to do one more break and
Yep.
We'll do that. Empty our bladders and grab some more beers. Move into some more interesting subjects. And
yeah, it's been. I'm extremely happy with this show. Popeye, you brought a lot of information. And I'll say it now if I don't get a chance, because Raz usually doesn't give me too much chance with the guest. But anytime, you're welcome. Anytime you just want to come in and bullshit or whatever. And I'm actually very interested. I'm going to start digging into the Egyptian pyramids and all that stuff. I really want to get into that stuff at a later date and really kind of make one show about, try to cover as much of that as possible. I know it's a lot of information to cover in one show, but I would like to try to get on it, and you're always welcome. So,
well, thank you, man. And if you want to, I'll throw you guys a little tip. If you ever want to have a guest on to learn about the Egyptian pyramids and stuff like that, great guy, a friend of mine, and I've done shows with him in the past, and actually he's going to be coming on my show again soon. But you guys should have him on as a guest. He's just a really awesome guy, and I think your listeners would like him. Christopher Everard. Great dude. He's a British filmmaker. Really, I mean, when you get to know him, he's a nice guy. He's pleasant to talk to, and he's got you want to talk about a wealth of knowledge. This guy knows. So if you want to do a show like that, dude, he'd be a great guest to have on for that.
You said Everard, right?
Everard. It's Everard.
ARD.
Everard.
If you look up, just look up the Enigma channel. Just Google the Enigma channel. That's his website, and you'll see he's got a bunch of stuff on there.
Well, in the last little section of the show here, I got my producer back, so I'll introduce you to my wife. She'll be on with us for a little bit. She may have some questions for you. I woke up first, and then she joined me in the awakening, and it's been an interesting road to drive down. Speaking of, well, let's get in the break here.
Yeah, let's do a break real quick. We'll do a break. This has been a fantastic first 52. Popeye from federaljack.com. Go to his website. He's got a lot of good stuff on there, and he does his show 3 times a week. And we'll get into all that before he leaves. We'll make sure he hits on all that stuff. And we really do appreciate that. I'll see you guys on the other end of the break.
All right, brother.
All right, man. This is the first 52. I'm Johnny English, Sean Raspatello, and we still have Popeye from federaljack.com, who's been nice enough to join us. We really do appreciate it, man. This has been probably one of the best shows that we've ever had. There's just a ton of information. We've covered just everything. So thanks for hanging in, man. You guys have been hanging in the entire show. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back here in a few minutes. Go take a break, take a leak, get a fresh drink, mix something up, and we'll see you on the other side. This is Johnny English, Sean Raspatello, the first 52 on WKOALive.com. And we're back, hour number 3, right here on the first 52, WKOALive.com. Johnny English, Sean Raspatello. We have Popeye still with us into the third hour from federaljack.com. You guys offered up a ton of information. It's just been unreal how much information this guy has. And we hope to have him back on in future shows. So we're going to get right back into it. Sean, Popeye, let's just jump right back into it, man.
Hey. I also like to say we have Lexi with us now from the rest of the show.
What up?
Hi, Lexi.
Hi. Hi, Popeye.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So she'll be sitting in with us. Where were we going there? We were just starting. Oh, I wanted to ask you because I was saying she was coming in. How does your wife, how does your wife come with all this? How does she respond to the whole awakening? And, I don't know how long you guys have been together, but, did you wake up together? Were you both awake when you met? Give us a little of that.
Well, when she at first thought I was nuts, just like most people's spouses, whether, if I'm sure probably did if they didn't wake up together. But she's awake now, and it's interesting because she's had her own awakening, and she knows a lot of this because she heard me talk about it through the years and seen stuff, but a lot of it I don't think she believed when she was younger when she first, this is like 6 years ago, and she got into her during this period she came into her 30s. And that's when her enlightenment period really hit, which happens to most people. Once you hit your 30s, you hit you have this change where you start to look at things differently. And she's very much on board. She understands. She was never like, oh, I don't believe you or anything like that. She was never against me, but she would sometimes tell me, I think is there really a conspiracy and everything? But now she understands that that's not the way it is. She understands that it's just one agenda, and that whatever comes along the way, whatever little road bumps that may get in their path, they do whatever they have to do to continue this agenda. She understands that now, and she's into healthier eating. I mean, she's done a completely 180-degree turn in her life. I have to honestly tell you, I'm very proud of her. I even told her that the other day, and it's all because she's driven, from herself. She had to have that awakening and then push herself, just like any of us do. I don't think it's right when people are like, well, I woke you up and I did this, that's ego speaking. You didn't. You brought them to the stream and they drank from it themselves. You didn't push their face into the water and they, you know what I mean?
You didn't give them a swirly in the stream of truth.
Yeah. And that doesn't work if you try to do it that way. Did you ever try to talk to a family member and you're trying to tell them something and it just, you know what I mean? They're just, you could like, come on, look, 9/11 was an inside job. Blah.
Oh, he so did that with everybody.
And it doesn't work, does it?
It does not work.
No. It's like my mom and my dad taught me when I was a kid. You get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, So
oh, yeah. Yep.
It just, you can't come off that way. You can't force their way into it. You got to give them the information and let them realize it. Otherwise, they're not going to truly get it, And
I think you've learned that too. I think, especially in men, I see it. They get all this information going and they get overwhelmed and it's like word vomit and it's all coming out.
That's
I'm going to shove it down your throat,
Wait, repeat that so the listeners can hear it.
It's word vomit.
That's awesome. That's exactly what happens. One of my friends, his brother just recently woke up, and for like the first couple weeks, when he woke up, everything was 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. And now he's beyond that. But we were all at that point. And he was just, you'd get on a conversation with him, and you couldn't even say hi to him. It'd be like, hey man, oh my God.
That's me. That was me, should I say.
Yeah, that's what happens. Cause but that's a perfect expression. I like that word vomit. That's exactly what happens.
It is. You just have so much in your head that you want to get out. It just spills out.
You want to see a lot of people. Like, I have a lot of knowledge stored in my head. Like all this stuff we've been talking about, I haven't been sitting here with notes or anything. It's all just stuff that's in the noodle. That's why I had to get the book so I could read it because I couldn't remember the exact details. But I knew the basics. That stuff. After a while, you have all that crap floating around in your head. You want to get it out. You want to tell people. And I have people sometimes be like, what do you think, you're smarter than me? No, I'm just trying to tell you what's up, man. If you were standing in the middle of the road and a bus was coming, would you want me to tell you, hey, Bob, you're about to get run over by a bus? Or would you want me to just step aside and let you get plowed over by the bus?
Yeah, are you going to turn to me and say, hey, what do you think, you're smarter than me? Well, I see the bus coming.
I don't see a bus coming. Well, did you turn around, dick? I mean,
yes, yeah, exactly. It's interesting because we went through the same thing with the awakening. I woke up first and I was a dick and a pain in the ass and, kept pushing it. And she did it on her own, but she's the same way. She's much healthier now. She pays better attention to the food we feed our son. We got away from vaccines. We got away from pharmaceuticals, and it's really hard to do by yourself when you have a second person involved, so, when that other person's involved, they can focus on certain things and then you can focus on certain things. And that's kind of what we do. Like she has what she looks at and focuses on for our family health. And then I look at and focus on certain things for our family protection. You know what I mean?
You have to be a team, dude. Yeah. look, the one thing the military teaches you is one of the reasons they put you through boot camp and they give you the most impossible scenarios that you could never be able to accomplish any of these things by yourself. They do that on purpose because they tell you that too at the end. We did it to, so you act as a team and you'd learn to work together. Well, you have to act as a team. We're not going to survive this if people don't start getting together and acting like a team. I mean, that's what evolution is about anyway, but we really need to get together and stop being afraid of our neighbors. They're not Al-Qaeda. Stop it.
Talk to them.
Yeah, go out and talk to your neighbor. You might find he's actually a nice person.
And something I promote a lot too, Popeye, is getting out there and having a conversation with your local law enforcement. Find the ones that you can talk to, that you can get through to, that maybe will listen to you, even if they think you're crazy. As it comes down further, they're still gonna see it coming then. And if they're the good ones, which are good ones out there, if you can find them and really talk to them, it'll help down the future. And that's something I talk about a lot, because we do see all the police brutality. And I told a story a couple weeks ago. We had an apartment raid here. A girl had been the driver at a shooting, and the guy had survived through the shooting. It was a drug, pill selling shooting. And they did this big raid here, and I watched the raid from across the property, and one of the cops turned with a gun, and there was a dog in the house that come run out, and he turned with a gun, and he was aimed on the dog, and it took off running, and it just kept going. And I went up to the cops later. I said, hey, thanks for not pulling the trigger there. Thanks for not doing that. And there are good cops out there. It's just a matter of counter fighting the programming that they've been given. I'm sure you've seen the video of the DHS, or at the time it was the FBI or something, giving a course to local law enforcement where they were talking about the founding fathers were basically terrorists of the time. Have you seen that video? The one I'm referencing to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that was actually in the course. There was an instructor in front of a room full of cops talking about how, what the founding fathers of America did really is what the terrorists do now. And that's what they were comparing our founding fathers to. And people don't see this stuff. They don't realize it. And it's scary to think that it's right out there for you to see, and they're doing it. And that is what they're programming. I mean, the MIAC report, all these, reports coming out of, what's the one institute that does all the negative reports against libertarians and all that?
The Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
What's his name? Mark Potok. Yeah, he's a reliable source of information. That guy looks like a pedophile.
Don't they? Although, hey, look at the TSA. We got up in Jersey. It was Jersey or New York. They just hired a TSA supervisor who was excommunicated from the church for being a pedophile. But the TSA hired him without a question.
Because he had previous experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
They were like, let me see your resume. Kicked out, defrocked for being a pedophile. You're hired. You want to be a manager?
You're perfect. You're perfect. Hey, Johnny, I want to throw out the number here. We have last half hour, 40 minutes or so. Maybe we could see if any of the listeners out there want to maybe ask Popeye a question or bring up a topic, bring up something that maybe he should look at. Number's 309-948-5664. You got a question for Popeye, give us a holler. Honey, did you have anything you were thinking about that you wanted to ask for Popeye?
Yeah, if anybody has a question, it's 309-948-5664. I'm kind of surprised Sean actually remembered the number.
I got it sitting in front of me.
Oh, okay.
If you guys want another book, I can give you another book to reference too. Great book. Guy's dead now that wrote it, but it was written like 50 years ago. Actually, more than that now, I think. But it's like going through a time capsule. You'll just like, oh my God. None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen.
Yeah, I haven't read that, but I've heard a lot of quotes out of it, and Alex refers to it a lot. And I listen to him daily. So yeah, I've heard a lot out of that, and it lays the whole program out. That, and what's the one he just reprinted? The 1,200 page.
The one from Fritz Springmeier.
Yeah.
Bloodlines of the Illuminati.
There you go. That's it. Yeah, that's another good one.
Yep, I have a lot of that stuff is in the ebook section on Federal Jack. If you go there, you'll see the ebook section. Just go there. The one part it should say there's like it's either under conspiracy or Illuminati. In fact, let me go look. I'll look while we're on air so I can tell everybody the proper thing instead of saying, just go look on my website. Blah, 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 blah. I hate when people do that. Well, just go here. It's so easy. Then you go there and you're like, where the frick is it?
We had this argument last week. One of our assistants, one of the guys that does a lot of technical stuff for us, we're trying to do voice over internet provider to get a little cleaner sound and stuff. And he called up last week, and he's a chemtrail denier, and he's actually on project. I still haven't gotten your report yet there, Fortoad, but we had this debate last week, and we were talking about where was I going there? I lost where I was going.
By the way, just
you were talking about chemtrails. I can hook you up with Mike Murphy if you guys want to interview him.
I've got Mike. I'm actually waiting for him. He should just be getting back from the islands.
He's a cool cat, and he can get into some details.
Yeah, he's really cool. Go ahead, Johnny.
We're gonna have a little problem with phone calls because I'm not technically the host because you have him Skyped in with you.
Right.
And for some reason, it won't. If I answer this call, it's going to go to the call, and I can't.
Yeah, ours. That's the way. Because that's one of the nature of the problems with the way we do radio through Skype. If you're not hosting it and someone tries to call, when you go to answer it, it'll put this on hold, and then you have to. And it doesn't give you the option to add them to the conference. It's a real pain in the ass.
That is ridiculous.
We learned something there, didn't we?
Well, if you want, shit. That makes that I forgot. I totally forgot about. We had the same problem on another show a few months ago, and it didn't even hit me. Yeah,
no big thing.
Then
guys, sorry, no calls this week. Next week we'll do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
Just go to the chat room if you guys have a question. Just go to the chat room really quick if you want to ask something.
Well, I know. I think I kind of know who that was calling. So yeah, if you guys have questions, if you're in the chat room,
can I guess who it might have been?
You could probably guess.
We'll see if he sent this question on the chat there.
It was from the 813, so it could have been,
Oh, I know exactly who it was. Oh, anyway, so the story, I remembered where I was going with the story. The point is he calls up to debate me on chemtrails, and I'm saying to him, I said, listen, and he'd ask me a question. I said, well, you can find that information here on the internet. And he's like, no, I want you to answer the question. I said, but I'm trying to tell you where to find it before I answer it so you can go look for it when I'm done answering the question. And that was the argument we kept getting into, because he'd ask me a question. I'd be like, well, that's very feasible to find right here and blah, 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 blah. He says, no, tell me the answer. I'm like, I'm going to. Let me get to it,
Oh, it was a big annoying circle jerk.
So, yeah. Chemtrails, what do you, well, obviously, I know what you think. I see your videos you post. I don't know if you've seen any of the ones I do. I've been doing a lot of time lapse. Mixed.
Oh yeah, I saw them when you had the photos and stuff. I was watching actually one. I think it was yesterday. You posted it.
Yeah, I just got a new one out this past week. Yeah,
I saw that one.
That I think that's one of the biggest things, and that's why I focus on it so much.
Well, it's right in your face.
Yeah, it's so obvious to be able to prove or show.
There's a lot of people that I know that are in this whatever truth, freedom, whatever the hell you want to call it, the movement that say no, chemtrails don't exist. Okay, look, let's be straight. They're spraying something. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. They're doing it. Okay. There are people that don't believe that there's radiation coming over from Fukushima, but it is.
Right.
So, you can go, la, 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 not happening, la, 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 la. It's still happening. Okay.
It doesn't go away just because you don't want it to be there.
Exactly. Look, I'm not happy about it. I've had people say, would you get off on this? Yeah. I love the fact that they're trying to kill everybody. It's so cool. It's awesome. I get up in the morning and I'm like, awesome. Let's help out the Illuminati. No, this is ridiculous. I don't think it's cool. I don't like talking about this. You know how many other things I'd rather be doing right now?
Oh, hell yeah.
I'd rather go explore the planet, go do cool things, whatever. No, I can't. I can't go. I like to travel. I want to go see historical things. I can't. Why can't I? Because I don't want to get my nuts felt up by some pervert. And I know I'm not going to tolerate some guy putting his hands on my wife. I'll just be in jail because I don't care if he's got a costume and a badge or not.
Yeah, that's a big thing we talk about, Lex.
By the way, the call, just to interrupt you for a second, the call was from Chris. And he had some information on the Star of David deal, the base down there. And I guess a friend just called and was at the Avon Park prison last week and saw 3 drones take off one after another.
Go figure that one.
Yeah, so that's what he was calling in to say.
So we have drones getting launched here.
It's a mock. Maybe that's what that is. Maybe that's a drone training ground, because the airstrips off to the, if you're looking at the real airstrips off to the left there, so and down below. So what happens if they take off, they fly the drone up to 30,000 feet, and then they can train their operators right there. They have it hovering right there, and that's probably what all those pock marks are.
Yep, they're practicing going in on those like you. I think it was you that said they were probably mock. Those mock missiles there. It's probably what they're doing.
They're going
after the radar unit, actually.
Yeah, they're probably real, but they're probably not armed. They probably don't have any engines. They're probably just, empty hulls now. They're probably old, or they could be made. They do make mock missiles. How many times have you heard, when the Navy or the Air Force is flying around and they drop a missile off the side of one of their planes? I love that. Oh, missile fell off. It happens a lot. It's like John Cusack said in that movie Broken Arrow. I don't know what's more frightening, the fact that you guys lost a nuke, or that it happens so often you have a nickname for it.
Yeah.
Isn't that so true? It really is.
Yeah, if they got a nickname for it, obviously it's been done before. So.
There's so much.
Broken Arrow. It's so nonchalant about it. Like, really?
Hey, well, what happened? What happened with all the old Russian suitcase nuclear weapons? What happened to all those? I remember those being the talk of the town.
Al-Qaeda has them now. They're going to blow up New York with those.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember they went all over the United States. DHS said that Al-Qaeda might have gone all over the United States and planted nukes in the basements of certain buildings. So that's where those suitcase bombs are. They're sitting there waiting to be used.
I'm more concerned.
The right time.
I'm more concerned about the nukes that disappeared from our own government. What was that, last year or the year before? They never even resolved that, did they? Do you remember when
missing nukes?
Yeah, we had a nuke or two go missing out of California or Colorado or something.
There's more to it, and I should. Oh my God, my brain is not working right now. But you can look that up. There's more to it, but I forget who it was that was talking about this. It might have been Tarpley.
Yeah, I think I remember that was it was like a year and a half ago or something.
Yeah, it might have been Tarpley, but they took that for a reason, and I don't remember. Oh, it pisses me off that I can't remember what it is. But yeah, that was shady. Oh, we accidentally, we loaded it on the wrong thing. Yeah, it happens. The Air Force makes mistakes sometimes. That guy was reprimanded. Well, wait a minute. What? I'm supposed to believe
he gets reprimanded.
Yeah, I'm supposed to believe that you guys, whoops, misplaced nukes. You're flying them around on planes all over the United States. Whoops. And you guys don't know what's going on.
By the way,
really?
Shooter in the chat room says Broken Arrow also means a nuke missile that exposes radiation. I guess he's former Navy.
That's nice.
So they misused and we know they do this in movies a lot. Maybe they just misused the words
and
the terminology.
Yeah. And Shark Meat just posted, he just watched a video of Obama signing some law about no free speech around him. I assume it's that law that
the trespass law.
Yeah.
The trespass bill or whatever it was, where if anybody is under Secret Service protection, there can be no protest or no free speech within a certain range of them or something along those lines.
Yep. What's the First Amendment?
Well, what's that? I don't know. Do we have that anymore? Really? Honestly?
It's in file.
The First Amendment.
Where's the free speech zone going to be in Tampa this coming August? Where are they going to put us all?
I'm waiting to see. I'm really waiting to see what's going to happen. I'm waiting to see if people are going to get hurt. I'm trying to get up for that because I'm trying to get a little money saved so I can go up and cover it. Recovering from surgery sucks, but hopefully, because they want to schedule me, I'm supposed to have a follow-up to the other hand to do a similar thing, and I'm trying to put it off because I want to go up, and I really think it's going to be interesting to say the least up there, man. I mean, I think it's going to look like it did 4 years ago. Remember with the what was it? I think it wasn't the RNC. The RNC was pretty bad, but I think the DNC was worse. Which one was the one that was worse out of the two? It might have been the Republican National Convention, because they're usually brutal. They love the police state.
The worst thing I remember over the past, I woke up late. I didn't wake up till 2009. And the biggest thing that stands out to me is the whole, G20 in Pittsburgh.
Well, that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's going to look like. But I'm trying to remember which one it was. One of the two, it might have been the RNC, but one of them, it was pretty well. They screwed with Ron Paul delegates that were at the RNC the last time. They in some cases they wouldn't let them in. The Secret Service was hassling them. One of them had a signed baseball or something for Ron Paul, and the Secret Service confiscated, or he had either had a signed ball for him, or he had a baseball and Ron Paul signed it, or whatever it was, and the Secret Service confiscated it, and they were screwing with them. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like this year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. That's a whole nother subject we could get on a whole nother tangent about with Ron Paul and everything going on with that.
Mittens Romney.
Yeah. Well, I don't put Ron Paul in this. I guess his wife came out. There was a YouTube video that came out of her saying that Rand didn't consult the family about this decision. So that made me feel a little better when I saw that. It's just, I don't know. What's your opinion on what's going on? Everybody's got an opinion. I'm a Ron Paul supporter. I have been. I still am.
I'm a supporter of his message, but I don't think anybody should get caught up in the cult of personality, because this is the exact type of thing that happens. It's the same thing that happened with Charlie Veach too. People really bought into his crap. Whether or not he was a disinfo agent or not, we can put all that semantics aside. The point is, people bought into the idol, the thought of him, with, oh, he's so cool. They idolized him without even realizing it. They put him up on a pedestal. So that way, when he became human and failed in their eyes and did something they disliked, it was the hatred that came out and the anger that came out towards him, by people I said, well, wow, I called him out, but I didn't say, oh, Charlie, you need to die or anything. There were people that were really pissed.
Oh, they were nasty. There was people that were nasty to him.
But most of them, a lot of them, some of them, the ones that called him a liar and stuff, that's different. But the ones that were really passionate about it, well, that passion has to come from somewhere. You don't have that kind of hatred unless you had some sort of love to, you have to have the opposite of it. Right. That passion has to be there. So a lot of these people, and I know some that had gotten really mad. It was because they had invested emotionally, personally into him as into the cult of personality that was Charlie Veach at the time.
Well, see, I was let down by it. I didn't take it personal. I was let down because it was somebody I followed.
Well, no, I know, but the thing is, again, that's what we have to remember, that even these people that you look up to in the truth movement or whatever, everybody's human. Look at Alex Jones. He makes mistakes. Mm-hmm. He's not perfect. A lot of people hate on him because they do the same thing. They put him up on this pedestal. They think he's superhuman and he has a cape. And then when he he has a human flaw, because we all do, they attack him viciously. I mean, there are people that are haters and stuff, but the ones that look, Alex has done, he's made mistakes in his life. We all have. Okay. Right. I'm not attacking him and I'm not sticking up for him, whatever. I'm kind of really neutral on the subject. I think bashing each other is a waste of time. But the point is, people get angry and emotional over this cult of personality thing. And it's the same thing with Ron Paul. They're putting they get emotionally invested into it. People need to understand that even if Paul got voted in as the president, he wouldn't have landed on the lawn of the White House in January with a cape and everything would have stopped. That's not how it was going to work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it would have taken time. I mean, he would have had bureaucratic resistance. We have to be honest about things. So it's really not about him. It's about the message. It's about him getting people, and this is where I give his campaign a lot of credit. They target the young crowd. They really do. And the other night I was in a debate, about this, and I called him out for a few things. Okay. But it wasn't like, oh, you're a jerk or this or that. It was somebody brought up that, well, maybe, he's trying to figure out what to say or this or that. And I said, no, he did speak through the Campaign for Liberty. And they were like, but that was his campaign. Well, that's how they spoke through. And I wasn't really being harsh on him. I never bought into the cult of personality. I backed him as a way of the message, but I always made sure I told people that, I don't want anybody to ever think that one person is going to solve their problems. You know who's going to solve your problems? You. We're going to solve our own problems. That's how we're going to win this. And that's the biggest step everybody has to take, is they have to realize that your true power lies inside of you. There is no politician, no government agency, no policeman, no fireman, no military person, no nobody, no superhero that is going to come save you. The only thing that is going to change your life for the better is you. And the sooner you realize that, the better off your life will be. And everybody has to realize that in order to have that evolutionary change and take that next step. You can't force it. Some people do it faster than others. It would be nice if people would wake up faster, because our collective reality right now is being affected by a lot of this. But when you see them enacting this police state, that's a physical manifestation of their fear of you. That's what that is. They fear you so much that they have to have guys running around in black suits with batons looking like Darth Vader and his stormtroopers, because they're afraid of you. And you go, well, why are they afraid of me? You know, I didn't do anything. You know, I go, what did I do? I'm just researching this stuff and waking up. That's the problem.
That's the true power.
Yes, you have your true power and you're realizing it, and they are scared shitless. That is why they're doing all this. They are afraid of you. That's why they pump out the fear on the news, because they need you to be afraid of them and afraid of whatever boogeyman, and they use the fear to control you. It's like a bully. Most bullies are big pussies. They usually get beat up by somebody bigger or badder, right? There's usually somebody pulling the strings of the bully, whether it's, you know, their father is a jerk off to him and beats him at home, or they have an older brother or whatever. And then they go into school and they take it out on, or they feel bad about themselves. That's where bullying comes from. That's what all that crap is.
It's a product of your environment. It comes out of what you experience.
Speaking of bully, I have the video up if you want to get pissed off. It's about 3:33 is the video length. If you want to, I don't know. It doesn't matter if you don't want to play it. We don't have to play it, but it's the Fox News coverage, I guess, of him signing this suppressing free speech.
Yeah, let's hear what they got to say.
All right. See what we got here. And
see what they say.
They make free speech a felony and seriously restrict your right to political protest. Just signed into law by the president, H.R. 347 gives federal agents sweeping powers to arrest and bring felony charges against citizens engaged in protests where the Secret Service is present. Joining us now with more, Fox News senior judicial analyst, good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Yeah.
Judge, the thing that jumps out off the page, felony?
Yeah, felony means more than a year in jail. This is not like a traffic ticket. For standing and protesting, the type of thing that for 230 years Americans took for granted because it was protected by the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, has actually been abridged by legislation the president signed last Thursday, supported overwhelmingly by both parties, with very, very little public debate and very little debate in Congress. Basically allows Secret Service agents to decide where there are no free speech zones, not speech zones, no free speech zones. And anybody by the Secret Service can, protected by the Secret Service, can ask those agents to ban protests wherever they are. So I can think of 3 violations: speech violations, association violations, the right to petition the government for a redress of your grievances. What good is free speech if the people in the government are so far away from you that they can't hear you?
Judge, what about keeping our elected officials safe?
Keeping our elected officials safe is entirely different from insulating them from protest. The fact that the president is going to a hotel up the block should not bar you from standing across the street with a sign or with a bullhorn saying what you think about the president's policies. That is not a threat to him, and it is a part of American history since day one that we have the right to speak freely to, about, and against those in the government.
Judge, do you think this is going to be one of those laws that is on the books but not enforced?
I think it's one of those laws that's going to be enforced when the government wants it enforced. The problem, Eric, is it puts a lot of unbridled discretion in the hands of Secret Service agents who may very well say, you know what, boss, you've had a rough day. We'll keep everybody away from you. Or, you know what, boss, this crowd likes you, so we're going to let them, we're going to let you hear them. That's suppressing speech on the basis of its content, and that has been expressly prohibited by the First Amendment since day one.
What dictates the Secret Service is present? In other words, aren't they present all over Washington, D.C.?
Well, they are, and that's a great question, because this law also allows the president to give Secret Service protection to whoever he wants. I'll give you a bizarre example. His campaign managers are coming to Washington to confer with him about the campaign. He can give them Secret Service protection. And then the Secret Service can say to the kids in the streets, you can't shout at David Axelrod, because the campaign manager, because the Secret Service is protecting him. This is a slow, creeping destruction of some of our basic liberties, and the president signed it in secret.
And now some of the Secret Service are going to be providing services for the candidates now as well, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
People aren't going to be able to have their opinion about the candidates?
If the Secret Service so declares, you won't be able to shout at them.
Judge, got to go. The economy's not bad. Sorry about that.
There's your answer for Tampa.
Guess what? I guarantee
I hate
you,
Eric Bowling.
I do too. He's such
he
a
looks like
douchebag.
he looks like
I don't mean to cut you off, Johnny. I'm sorry.
he looks like he should be embalming bodies.
He's a douchebag, bro. I did a whole thing about destroying Fox News because this past year with 9/11, it was like an hour-and-a-half video I made where I ripped apart these 2 little 5-minute segments that they did. One with the Morons in the Morning crew. That's the Steve Douchey and that other idiot, Brian Kilmeade, and they always have one bimbo on there with blonde hair and huge tits. Okay, I call them. They call it. Whatever the hell they call it in the morning. I forget what they call their thing.
Fox
I call
Friends.
it. Yeah, I call it Morons in the Morning. That's Fox and Friends.
But it's such a nice name. It's Fox and Friends. It's supposed to make you feel
like the 5
good.
idiots. That's like the 5 idiots in the afternoon. That's what I call that show.
But they're your friends.
Yeah, my friends, right? If any of them were my friends,
shoot you.
None of them would have teeth, okay? Because I would have been hitting them repeatedly.
Oh yeah, I you know what? I haven't watched. I used to watch just to yell at the TV. I haven't watched it in 6 months. I'll bet you. I haven't put any news on. I just stick to my alternative news. I don't even bother with it anymore. And I used to bother with it
because I yell at the TV. If
That's
I'm in a public place and there's a television on, they'll say something. I'm like, that's bullshit. And people are just looking at me.
Oh, by the way, Popeye, if you are going to go to Tampa, you got a welcome layover spot here, brother. So you let me know, stay in touch with me, and I'm halfway between. So if you want to, travel for a day, come here, chill out for a day, and then travel the rest of the way, you're welcome.
I hope all the government agencies listening are taking your notes. Go ahead.
I'm right there. Hey, come get me. I'm not afraid.
The FBI a couple months back, they gave a contract to this private company, and I can't remember where it's out of. I think it's on the East Coast somewhere. But they're recording, it might be in Virginia, they're recording all of the internet-based broadcasts.
Well, I hope they're listening. I hope they learned something.
Yeah, we'd like to say hi to all those if you happen to be recording this show. You don't have to waste your time and record it. You can just download it.
Right.
If you go to iTunes,
WKOAlive.com,
give them the hit,
There are links right there on the site. You get JES World Media on Stitcher. You don't even have to download it. Don't waste your hard drive space.
We're saving you money. We're saving the government money. They can just go download it.
And really,
our tax dollars back.
I always say on my show too, if you are recording, if they're listening and recording, then the least you could do is if there's like a chip in button on these guys' site, go and chip in and donate like $10 or $20 because it's kind of job security if you think about it. That way they're still on air. You have something to do. There's a reason for your existence, and you get paid.
There you go. You know what? They can even go buy something from Amazon right there on the site. It goes right to Amazon. They buy something. We get a kickback. It could be enough to keep the site alive. So there you go. All you agents out there listening, we appreciate the listen, and just help us out.
Yeah, go buy your music through us. Hey, Popeye, do you still have that 2 terabyte hard drive you were selling preloaded?
Yeah, now it's 3.
Is it 3
it's
now?
like 2.5. Yeah, it's about. I have about 2.5 terabytes of info. So
good lord.
If they go to Federal Jack, just look on. There's a thing that says store, and then when you highlight it with your mouse, it'll say 3 terabyte hard drive. Just click on it, and it'll give you the info.
It's got all the good videos, all the truth movies,
tons of stuff on there. Stuff that's no longer on YouTube. Stuff I've been downloading videos and stuff since 2007.
Oh, shit. Well, I need to go on there.
It's not a bad price either. I mean, it's really only a couple dollars more than if you were to go buy one at Staples or something. It's not expensive, really.
Yeah, no, and it includes the shipping and everything. I don't really make any money on it. It's just because I don't have them sitting around. I wait until somebody orders them, and then I go and pick them up. And I literally have a place that I order them from, but as of late, I actually found better ones. For it ends up being about the same price, and they're better quality because they're Seagate hard drives. I try to give the best quality ones I can, so I always try to buy top of the line ones, and I like Seagate because they give a 5-year warranty with their stuff, and they just got top quality stuff. So I don't like to get I wouldn't get like a Hitachi or whatever or garbage hard drives. I'm not saying that Hitachis were bad, but I'm just saying I wouldn't buy some crap, we'll say, and throw it on there, because I don't want someone coming back to me in 3 months and saying, "Hey, dude, the hard drive died. What do I do?" Well, there's nothing I can do for you. You know?
Right. Yeah, so, Seagate's my external is a Seagate also. They're really, really good hard drives. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, that's what I try to use because they're dependable. And I always urge people, look, when you get it, if you do get the drive, I've told people, it's not about, I care nothing about, don't do anything. No, please pass it out. Go if you know someone that has a couple drives and you want to pass out all the information, copy it. I'm not going to, don't do that. That's not cool. No, I want people to do it. I encourage you to do it. The whole reason for doing this was because it's like a huge A-bomb in the info war. We need huge wonder weapons, as Hitler would have called them. You need something big and powerful. And radio shows and stuff are great, but sometimes activism is needed as well. And a lot of these activists don't have the tools. Well, I don't have videos, or I would do a screening, or this or that. Well, that's where the idea came from. It came from,
Sean,
if you have a hard drive, because hard drive and a laptop.
What? Johnny?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, what was that?
Popeye,
Did you
there?
have a spasm there or something?
No, you guys disappeared.
Oh, no, we're here.
Oh, Skype probably cut out. That happens once in a while.
Yeah. By the way, Ledge is listening now, so say hi to Ledge.
Hey, Ledge.
What's up, dude?
He dug.
You remember Ledge, right, Popeye?
Yep.
He said he loved your rant. He must have just caught your rant.
Which one?
We've had a lot of those tonight.
Yeah, Ledge has missed out. Popeye's been on the entire show, and it's been fantastic. So yeah, you missed a couple of good ones.
You guys can tell me, by the way, to shut the fuck up whenever.
No, you're doing great, brother. You're bringing some great information. We never. We want, that's the whole purpose. Like you're saying right there, the whole purpose of this is to get our information out. It's to, grow our family of people that are working together. Just like I grew out of Ledge, I wouldn't be here with Johnny if it wasn't for Ledge. Johnny reached out to me because I was working with Ledge. I've reached out to you and to Chris and to all these other people I talk to because I listen to Alex Jones, and we're building a family, and that's what we have to do in order to accomplish the goal of truth and freedom. I mean, we have to, like you said earlier, you came on to help us out because we work together. That's we have to do that.
We have to have, look, I try to lead by example. So I can't go on air and ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't be willing to do myself, right? I can't. I've never done that when I was a firefighter, when I was in the military. I wouldn't go, if I was in charge of a work crew or whatever, I wouldn't be like, you're going to go do this, and I'm going to sit on my ass and not do it. No, I would be out there with them doing it, and I would get my hands involved so that way I could say, look, I'm doing it, get your ass over here and do it as well. And it's an effective way. So I try to do the same thing with this. So, like, when Chris called me tonight and said, hey, yeah, Sean needs I screwed up and they need a guest. Could you go on? Sure, why not? If I can help you out and I have the time to do it, why not? That's the way we should be with each other. That's how we get past this New World Order existence. They want everybody to be separated and, oh no, he's shady, I can't talk to him. Or look, they don't want us talking to each other and getting together. We need to defeat that. We need to get together and create community again with one another and get to know your neighbors. Reach out and make friends however far away they are. You never know. Dude, I've met some of the coolest people doing this over the years. I've interviewed some of the coolest individuals. I tracked down Lee Harvey Oswald's girlfriend and got a chance to not only interview her, but I got to get a chance to know her personally. And she's an interesting lady, Judith Baker. She's just a super as a human being. Other people I've got, Susan Lindauer. you get to meet these people, and they're not just a name or somebody that wrote a book. You get to meet them and talk to them as a human being, and you get to know them on a different level. And I think that's one of the coolest things about doing this.
Oh yeah, by far, absolutely. And that's the same experience I've had since I've been involved with it, like I have been, is really meeting these people and talking to them. The pre-interview, sometimes is amazing and more compelling than the actual interview because, they're scared the first time or they don't know the show yet. So, but when you're sitting there talking to them on the phone one-to-one, and there is no show, there is no listeners, they just really open to you. And that's the experience that really has driven me into wanting to do this more is getting that connection with everybody as I've been booking them. Cause I started, working with Ledge on Dangerous Conversation as a listener. I mean, I just would call in every night and just rant my stupid shit and he'd, go back and forth with me. And, it developed into, he challenged me on something and I went and dug up Michael Murphy. That was actually the first interview I ever booked for Ledge. Because I was trying to convince him in chemtrails because he wasn't really, he knew there was something there, but he didn't really focus on it. So my big thing was to make Ledge understand that chemtrails are real. So I went out and I got this guy and I contacted him and I booked him for the show and I did all that stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm booking 2-3 guests a week for him. And he's given me the drive and the want and the energy to do what I'm doing now. And it's just amazing how it works. And going through the process recently, I'm still a little, shocked with the way it worked out. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, if you had told me 5-6 years ago I'd be doing my own radio show and I would have this huge website and, people all over the world.
The FBI chasing me down.
I get emails from people telling me I've changed their lives and, with some of the shows I've done. And that's very humbling to me because I don't go on air going, oh, I'm awesome. I don't go about my ego. For Christ's sake, I use a nickname, not even a radio name somewhat close to my real name, because I try to take myself out of this as much as I can because this isn't about me. I never got in this to be about me. I've always from day one been focused on just getting this information out and waking people up so we can stop this. That has been my goal from day one. As soon as I woke up, the first thing I said was, I have to do something because I'm not the type of person that can sit back and watch something happen. Like if I watch a guy punch his girlfriend in the face, I'm going to go over and flatten him. Okay. It doesn't, and I wouldn't, get involved if, you see a couple arguing, but if I saw a guy beating his wife's head in, and closed fist punching her in the face and she was on the ground, I would step in. If I saw 2 people stabbing somebody in the street, I would step in. I've done it before. That's the kind of person I am. And I've never, ever, ever tried to be about ego with this. And it's the one thing that pisses me off about this movement or whatever you want to call it is there's a lot of people that get into this thinking that they're going to make a name for themselves of some sort. Right. And it's like, what? How do you get involved? Don't you realize what's going on?
It's not about your name. It's about the message. And actually, it's funny you just said everything you said because Ledge just said the exact same thing pretty much on his show, talking about the egos and it's not about you. It's not about what you're going to do with this. It's about what you're going to share, what you're going to educate people on, what you're going to do to change the world. What are you going to do to make that change?
Well, I kind of got into internet radio as doing that, not with this movement, but I got into internet radio because I wanted to be some hack, shock jock, whatever.
You want to be the next Bubba the Love Sponge?
Yeah, I wanted to be the next Bubba, and I've always, growing up, I was always the shy little fat kid, and trust me, you couldn't even get me up in class to read something,
So you're just not shy now? Is that what you're saying?
No, somehow, at some point, I don't know when it happened, but at some point, I reached a point where I said, I don't give a shit. And I think what happened, and honestly, I think all that happened to get me to where I am right now. Because if I didn't go through what I went through the last year and a half, or, up until the point we started doing these shows, then I wouldn't be able to get on here and be able to talk the way I do and be able to be open and honest. And some of my shows, if anyone's heard any of my shows, I spill a lot of my guts. I talk about my personal life. I talk about a lot of different things. I don't hold anything back. And, I've been through the ringer with this shit. And I finally got to a point where, just as Sean got involved with me, and then I started getting more involved with, listening to DC more, and listening to Ledge, and listening to what Ledge was really saying about that very thing, about getting into it to make a name for yourself. And he always talked about, he could kind of sniff that out, and he could tell whether or not you're trying to get involved with his show, just to hear your name on the radio, and just to be able to get on and hear yourself talk. And I really listened to that. I really thought about it, and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna I'm gonna back down, and I'm gonna really try to get into this on a small scale, and then just kind of let it build up and let people get involved with it, because I've never let people get involved with this station with me. I've never relinquished that much control that I give to Dave and Sean. And even though they don't have that much control, but they have a lot more control than I would give anyone. And that's the truth. I've never, because it was all about me. And then a few months ago, I found, you know what? I'm done with that, and I got it out of my system. And now I'm going to use what I learned during that time to make myself better and try to make this show better and try to help the station grow, and to give other people opportunities to come on and tell their story. And give other people that want to broadcast that, maybe aren't able to, give them a server to log on to and just say whatever they want to say. And, that's kind of where I came from. I actually started wanting it to be about me, but I eventually got into this deal where I've met enough good people, a lot of good people, and now I just want to help, just help move the information forward. I might not be the originator of a lot of this stuff, but at least I can push it forward, maybe to some new listeners.
Well, see, Johnny, you've been awake for a long time, but you never really got yourself into the community, into the
right,
whatever we're going to call the movement. Popeye. I don't know whether we call it the truth movement,
and that's the
Patriot
shyness.
Movement, or what the hell we call it anymore.
And
you never got involved in that.
And that's the shyness that I always had. I've always just been I never got involved with anybody. I kept to myself. I just didn't, I was always kind of a loner. I don't have any brothers or sisters. And I grew up, doing a lot of things, using my imagination, whether it was a kid playing or, into my early adulthood and, through the military and all that. I was just always kind of a loner, and I've never been able to, express a lot of the things that I do now. Now it's like I'm at a boiling point, and it's just boiling over. And I want to be able to do this and actually help push any information that I can push forward. That's what I want to do. And that's kind of the goal now. I put all that other shit behind me. I don't want to, I don't want to be super shock jock and, all that bullshit. I just want to get this going forward. Whatever happens. I'm not going to turn shit down if it were to come my way. I would love to make my living in radio, regular radio, or however you want to do it. But this is the most important thing right now. Whatever happens with me, if someone came on and said, hey, we want you to be on a radio station, we want you to do a show, whatever the case is, even if it's just spinning records, I don't give a shit. I still would never leave this behind. This would always be a priority.
Well, it's a deep part. Once it gets in your blood, and I'm sure Popeye can speak to this. He's been doing it a lot longer than both of us. Once it gets in your blood, you can't let it go. It's not. That's why, like you brought up Charlie Veach, Popeye. That's why that bothered me so much, because you can't believe this and then not believe it anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you go into that, I wrote an article about that when it happened, and I said, look, if he, it's either one of the two things. Either he's a complete moron, or he was a plant from the get-go, and this was a way for him to get in and make people look stupid and kind of take some steam out of the movement. And it happened right around the 10th anniversary. So, the timing was interesting and stuff like that. But, the one thing I did try to push throughout the whole thing was people, you can get mad at him all you want, and you can hate on him for what he did, say, and do, and whatever the reasons he did it. But the fact remains, if you didn't idolize him to begin with, you wouldn't be so emotional over it. I wasn't really upset. I was like, look, see, this is why you shouldn't. And you shouldn't idolize people. And I wrote an article about it, but I wasn't like, I called him a sellout when he first said it, but I wasn't like, oh, you should burn in hell and you should be, killed and maimed and drawn and quartered and hung. And I mean, people were going off the friggin' deep end. And
I saw some of those ones, man. They were, excuse me,
insane.
There were some ugly, and I never said anything. He's still actually on my Facebook. I still watch what he says. I still, keep an eye on him just because, like,
regardless of what he didn't kill any human beings. Okay. And he's another human. I mean, the reaction to that, and again, that just goes to, if you're trying to not make his point look valid, you're doing a horrible job. You're giving him ammunition to fight you because you're acting like a complete asshole.
Right.
And you're not solving anything. If people went up to him, if he didn't have those death threats or some of that stuff was just out of hand. And who knows who the hell did it? Some of it could have been trolls, whatever. But if he didn't have any of that, if everybody responded to him with logic and intellect rather than being, such
hate and anger,
hate mongering to him, perhaps. I don't think he would have really changed his tune, but perhaps things, the whole scenario would have been, not perhaps, it would have been different.
Well, but maybe it wouldn't have been so blown out of proportion and so noticeable. That's what I meant. Deal. Yeah.
Everybody, it was this cult of personality thing. Nobody should be looking at anybody like you're their friggin' savior. For real. Nobody. No politician. Politicians aren't going to save you. Government is never going to save you. Okay? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. And I'm not saying I'm an anarchist or anything like that. You need some sort of structure, but if everybody just did volunteering, like I was a volunteer firefighter for 6 years. I did the same training went through the same training the paid guys did and went to the fire academy, everything. I just didn't get a paycheck for going into burning buildings and rescuing people. I did it because it was my duty, and that's how I wanted to give back to my community. I just did it.
I did volunteer EMS for 8 years up in Jersey, so
you understand. You know what I mean. Yep. So volunteering, there's no reason why it can't be done, and it works real well. Okay, so the government itself, do you know what government means? It's Latin. It's derived from two Latin words. One's a verb, one's a noun. It means to control the mind. Govern, it means, I forget exactly how it's pronounced in Latin, but it means to govern. And then ment is like mentis or men, and that's the mind. So it's to control the mind. That's what government actually means. The word government. See, it's important that people know the actual definitions of words because word magic is used against you. Mark Passio was just on my show last night, and him and I did 2 hours about this. We were talking about this. How word magic is used against people all the time. Like the word occult. What does that bring to you? What's the first thing you think of when I say cult?
A group of people that believe in the same thing that, kind of congregate together and talk about.
No, not a cult. Like a cult. Like OCCULT. Oh. Well, I guess you probably get the same. You probably get the same thing. A group of people with worshiping the devil and stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what most people get. Okay. Do you know occult does not mean Satanism or anything? Word occult means hidden. So when you see occult knowledge, it doesn't mean, oh my God, it's occult knowledge. Run! The devil, Satan, run! No, occult means hidden. So they're telling you it's hidden knowledge. Like if you don't know how to operate your VCR because your kid hid the instruction manual and you don't have the knowledge that you need to glean from said instruction manual and it's hidden somewhere, technically it's occult knowledge.
That's crazy when you put it in that, isn't it?
But that's what word magic is. Yeah. It keeps people dumb. So there's a lot of words that the meanings that we think they have, it's the exact opposite. And it's used against us. It really is. I mean, through the study you can look up the study of cymatics, which that gets into some really deep stuff, but just look up word magic itself. I know people go, oh, come on, man, it sounds new agey. It's not new agey. This is the real deal.
It's how the occultists, it's how the Illuminati, it's how the leaders of, the people that rule the world, that lead the world, it's how they think. That's like one of the big things that we always get into discussion is religion. I'm kind of an agnostic. I kind of, I know there's something there, but until I see some proof of it, it's not really a big priority. It's not really a big thought in my mind. And it goes the same way with everything. You have to have a balance and understanding of what it is that you're looking at. And it's just, You follow where I'm going there. It's.
Well, there is no, like, if everybody, this whole problem, okay, is the fact that nobody gets how the machinery, the universe, the way things work. They don't get it. They don't, the instruction manual that we're given is bullshit.
Right.
Okay. And they don't understand the reality of things. Word magic, what cymatics is. Just look it up. It's cymatics. It starts, I can't even think how to spell it right now. You know what? As a good what do you call it? Introduction into cymatics, go watch a movie by Ben Stewart called Kymatica. Okay. And then, because that's where the word Kymatica comes from. It comes from the study of cymatics. So when you go, when you go watch the movie, rather, there's references in there and you can go study from there. But like, kind of like I would say with Jim Marr's books, where it's all conglomerated in one spot and you can go there and then research the resources from there. Do the same thing with that movie when it comes to cymatics and word magic and stuff like that. But even when it comes to everyday things with your life, law, do you know anything about admiralty law? Do you know about your license? Do you know that, your name on your license isn't really you? It's a straw man. So is the Social Security card. It's a straw man. That's not you.
I've heard of that. It's like the free person movement, or the
It's the truth. It's not you. When you go to court, you're not.
You're not a number.
No, the court. When you go to the court system, you're simulating going on board a ship. You're dealing with British Admiralty law. You're not dealing with any sort of American law based on the Constitution whatsoever. When you sign that ticket, you're signing away your constitutional rights. That's why they had to make it. What was it in like the 90s, late 80s, early 90s? They made it illegal for you not to sign tickets because people just wouldn't sign their tickets and they would tell the cop to piss off and they would leave, and the cop couldn't do anything about it because the way the Constitution works is you are a free person. Yourself, you're a natural person. Okay. The corporations are not natural persons.
Right.
Well, on your license, it says your name, right? It'll say, John Q. Public, right? And it'll be all caps. Credit card, all caps. And I forget, it's called capitis, diminutia, something. I forget the exact word. He talks about it in Kymatica, and actually his first movie, Esoteric Agenda, he goes into Admiralty law heavily. But you have to understand this stuff. This is the real deal.
Isn't that why the United States is also a corporation? The
country's a corporation. That's what's right. That's why it's not called the United States Army or the United States Marine Corps. They call it, or it's not called the United States of America Army, I should say. They call it the United States Army. The country is called the United States of America. You would think our military would be the United States of America military or Army or Air Force, but it's not.
Right.
It's called the United States. And they say, oh, it's easier. It sounds better. No, that's bullshit. It's because, what is it? The Act of 1871, I think it's called. Basically, the United States is a corporation. That's what the District of Columbia is. It's a corporation. And there's two constitutions. There's the Constitution of the United States of America, and then there's the Constitution of the United States. Two different things. And yes, a lot of this is connected. Now, law, for instance, all lawyers to practice law here in the United States have to pass a bar exam. Mm-hmm. You know where the bar is located? You know where their central office is located from?
No, but I'm sure it's going to be crazy.
London. Why would I have to pass a test from someone in London or an organization based out of London to practice law in the United States of America? Does that make any sense to you?
Because all the laws are based on British royalty and British trade.
Well, that's what admiralty law is. You are your commodity. When you go to court, right? You ever notice that in order to talk to the judge and deal with your ticket or whatever else, you have to cross a barrier, whether it's just a banister with, an open space in it that you walk through, or it's got the swinging doors on there. Whatever the case may be, you have to cross a wooden barrier to go up to the podium and talk to the judge. Do you know what you're doing? You're simulating boarding a ship.
Yep.
The judge is acting as captain and agent of the banker. That's why every time you go to court, everything that you have to deal with is always a charge. And no matter what, even if I've gone to court to fight tickets, and I had a judge one time tell me he felt bad, but he goes, I feel bad, but I have to charge you court costs. And I said to him right there, well, you don't have to. Ha ha ha. And he was like, yeah, I do. And then, he snickered, and then he said case dismissed. And it was a stupid traffic ticket. But, he knew he didn't have to. So I said to him, you don't have to, and I wasn't as smart as I am now into this. I probably would have contested it a little more. But,
probably would have ended up locked up though.
We actually have this really cool dude on our network. His name's, Nathan Frazier. He used to go by the name Paranoid. And he
was
does
he
a show.
An artist? Musical artist? All right.
He does. He's worked with, you've probably heard him. He done stuff with Chris and Payday Monsanto.
Yeah, I have him on my Skype. I've been trying to get him for an interview for DC.
Yeah, Nathan's a really cool cat. He does a show on Orion on our network on Saturdays, and he talks a lot about this stuff. He was just on. I had him on my show like a week and a half ago, and I asked him. I said, "Have you ever witnessed?" Because he goes to court a lot with this, and I asked him. I said, "Have you ever gotten a chance and witnessed?" Anybody standing up and being like, "I know my rights," blah, blah, blah. And the judge gets up and bows and walks out, and he's like, no. No. I haven't seen it myself. He said it might exist, but from his experience, no. He hasn't seen it like that. But getting back to the whole admiralty law thing, it's something you need to study. You need to learn this. You need to educate yourself to this, because you're being exposed to this, whether or not you want to believe it. I've had people tell me, "Oh, you're insane. What the hell kind of weird crap is this?" Nice Pavlovian conditioned response. Okay.
How does this connect? Wait, I don't want to interrupt you, but how does this connect to the Law of the Sea Treaty?
Well, the Law of the Sea. Well, see, the Law of the Sea Treaty. That's even more admiralty law. That's all that is all this is based off of UCC, Uniform Commercial Code.
Right.
That's all this is. We're commodities. That's what this is.
That's why we have a Social Security number. That's how they attach us to. It's basically a UPC's number, if you want to.
Why do we have a certificate of live birth? What sits in a berth? A ship. What is a ship leaving a berth? What does that kind of symbolize? A child leaving the womb.
All right.
I'm telling you, this stuff, people think that, oh, no way, man, this is too crazy. No, this is how they run things. It doesn't matter if you believe it. Well, psychopaths in charge, this is how they do shit.
That's where I was going when I went stupid a couple of minutes ago, is I was talking about religion and comparing that, and whether you're atheist or a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or whatever you believe in, or you don't believe in anything, they believe in something. The people that are the elite, the ones ruling us, believe in something. Whether you believe in something or not, they do, and that's how they operate. That's what they operate on, is those beliefs. That's the point I was trying to make before when I went totally stupid.
No, you're
right out of my head.
No, I agree. You are 110% accurate. Again, it's like, I don't believe that there's radiation coming from Fukushima. Well, you can believe it or not, but it's coming.
Right.
And when it comes to
multiple ways.
Yeah, exactly. And when these people, their beliefs, it's the same thing. I don't care if someone thinks it's crazy that these guys run around naked in the woods for 2 weeks out in Sonoma, California, and Sonoma Valley out there, and they run around
Grove, right?
Yeah, at Bohemian Grove, and they touch each other, and that there's pictures of Henry Kissinger in tutus or whatever the hell else he's wearing. I don't care if you don't believe that. It happens, It doesn't matter if, well, that's just too crazy for me to believe, Popeye. Well, at one point, around Earth was too crazy for people to believe.
That's right.
They thought if you went too far, you'd fall off the edge of the Earth.
We can never reach the moon.
Yeah, we can't reach the moon, right? We can't get satellites. 10 years ago, if you told me I'd be able to watch TV on a cell phone, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
The cell phone's the size of a phone book.
We can't have a guy sitting in DC playing a video game that's actually flying a drone in Afghanistan, 12,000 miles away.
But you could never remotely fly planes on 9/11, even though you could fly drones 6,000 miles away. You couldn't fly planes remote. That's just crazy talk, Popeye. You're a conspiracy theorist.
That could never happen.
People are just, they don't look past their own nose to pay attention to what's going on. A lot of it is willful ignorance, man, because they're afraid.
But the scary thing is
the other half is conditioned response.
The scary thing is, though, I was one of those people not that long ago. I mean, when I was in the military, until I woke up, I was one of those, let's go nuke them all, make it a glass parking lot, fuck them, they got rags on their head, the whole thing. I mean, I was and I hated 9/11 truthers, and I always say that because it's so funny because I'm like really hardcore. I'm one of those people, I'm very ADD, so once I come into something, forget it, I'm done. I'm going to be 100% focused on that. I'm going to learn everything I can, push what I can, blah, blah, blah. And, it's just weird that that's the way it goes.
It's interesting, man. Like I said, if you told me years ago that I'd have my own radio show or whatever and people would be listening to me in other countries, I find that so humbling that people literally listen to what I have to say, and they actually will go out and do research. And like I said, I've gotten emails, people telling me, I changed the way I look at things now, and my life is better. And I have to say it's, I listened to one of your shows, or, I listened to some of your stuff, or I heard you on this show, and then I listened to you, and I love your message. It resonates with me. That's the kind of stuff that makes me continue to go back on air, because I don't get paid. I don't even have any sponsors. I don't make any money on this. I actually have to put money out of my pocket to do this, but I do it because it's what has to be done. It's the right thing. I don't have one sponsor at all that pays for my website or pays for, the radio show that I do. None of it. And I'm not looking for, I'm not crying, oh, poor me. What I'm saying is, I do it because it's the right thing. And that's what more people need to do. We wouldn't need to have huge paid police departments that, have all the SWAT crap if the people in the community where they lived were willing to do volunteer police patrols. And you know what? It would work out better because you'd have less police brutality, because most of the cops that pull this police brutality bullshit don't live in the community where they're doing it.
Right.
Because
they don't know the people.
Yeah, if they did, they wouldn't be pulling it. Can you imagine if you walked around nightsticking people all night and then had to go home and live in the same area that you were doing that to people to? You wouldn't get very far.
No, you wouldn't at all. You're 100% right. And like you said, that's what we're doing here. We don't make a penny off what we're doing. Johnny puts out most of the money, and it's just all. Johnny puts out all the money. We get a donation here or there. But it's the same thing. We do it for the purpose, for the message, and that's what everybody needs to do. You believe in this.
Let me ask you something, Popeye. And I didn't get a chance to ask Burmis, and I really want to know the answer to this question. And I'm not suggesting that this should happen. I just want to get your thoughts on it. Why is it that these people have been allowed to run things as long as they have? This is obviously a small group of people. It's not. When you look at the entire population of the world, we've suddenly gone over 7 billion. I just remember not too long ago they were talking about 6 billion, and now a short time later we're over 7 billion people, and we're talking about a very small group of people controlling these, controlling everything. When you look at Bilderberg and all these other groups, that are out there, and you think these are the people that are really running things. Why hasn't, of all the trained black ops soldiers that may have wakened up or awakened and seen what's going on and have the capability themselves to maybe sneak in somewhere and take some of these people out just on their own moral issues, without any help, without any direction from a government agency or anyone else, but just on their own? Why hasn't somebody gone in and start taking these people out?
I don't know, but what are you waiting for, people? Let's go. I just don't Marchenko.
I just don't understand why you've got soldiers. It happened once.
A guy named Dick Marchenko, and he was the movies Delta Force and stuff were based off of him. Chuck Norris's character and all these badass special ops guys in the movies were all based off of Richard Marchenko. And he kind of went off the reservation and started hunting some of these people down, and not like Rothschild or any of them, but other individuals that were bad and for whatever reason he thought they had to go. And they reeled him in, threw him in jail, I think under bogus drug charges or something like that, if I remember correctly. And then when he got out, by the time he got out, he was too old to be running around chasing people. But if I remember correctly, he has trained people, and I think Ventura even knows him. But that's a good question. I don't understand why. I've said that before. Why doesn't Dick Marchenko just get his own little personal army and go clean house? Let's go. I don't understand. But then again, look at, you have to figure out who the real power players are now. Let's face it. Rockefeller David Rockefeller. He's what, 90? I think he's 97 or something like that. 96 or 97. His whole day is spent trying not to shit himself. So he's not really running anything anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Popeye, I'd like to interject on that. You said it happened once. I'd also like to say we probably should recognize it. It might have happened more than once. We have Smedley Butler, who really stood up and.
Oh, well, that's true too. Yeah. So, and I'm sure, you know what? We probably don't know. It probably has happened more once or twice. And unfortunately, maybe he got one or two people and then he was taken out or something and you never hear about it because the last thing they want to tell you is, oh my God, some paramilitary guy came on and, went after so-and-so, because then they'd have to explain why he went after them. And even if they came out with a cover story, all these other guys, special forces, whatever, would see that and go, it's time to roll. Right. So they don't want that. Right.
And remember, this, I'm sure I don't have to remind you of the story of Smedley Butler, but some people out there might not know it. He was a general, if I'm not mistaken, and he was approached they actually asked him to be the president. They said, we have 500,000 troops ready to move to take over the country, to take over the United States. And he went to Congress about this and revealed it. Yeah, this was the 30s. Look up, YouTube Smedley Butler War is a Racket and listen to what he has to say about what war is. And obviously not to you, Popeye, but to everybody out there listening, listen to this. Oh, no, man.
I know. It's a great listen. And, Mars talks about it in Rise of the Fourth Reich. He even brings up Smedley Butler. He says that flat out, but he'll tell you what the Marine Corps is. He says that when, for the United Fruit Company, they would go in and they would try to, we want this land. We're going, this is ours now, whatever, blah, blah, blah. However they did it, whoever they bought off. And if somebody argued, farmers argued, communities argued, a country argued, whatever, a leader of some sort argued, they'd send in the Marines and then they would take it. And Smedley Butler openly admits this. And this guy's like one of the most highly decorated Marines ever in the history of the Marine Corps.
And it's nothing different than what we're doing now with Afghanistan. What do we want out of there? Poppy, lithium. It's the same type of
Where's
thing.
our Smedley Butler? We don't have anybody like that nowadays. And three of us are all prior service. And we're vets. So we can appreciate the fact that there should be some sort of high-ranking general stepping up and doing something.
Well, and it's funny you say that because back when TrueTube was still running, it was the only place I could post the whole interview. But I don't know if you remember, I think it was last May, Stephen Pachenik was on Alex Jones. It was like the first time he was back on with him in 8 years or whatever it was. And his interview, I do apartment maintenance is what my normal job is. And I was in an apartment working and tears with the way he was talking. I actually had tears rolling down my eyes. And he was talking about how these generals need there are people in there that are pissed off and don't want to stand for it and aren't going to let them go to that point. And, you have hope in that, but then you remember in the back of your head, well, this guy was CIA, once CIA, always CIA. So it's like, what do you believe?
I don't trust Pachenik 100%. But I don't trust anybody 100%. I don't like to, again, I don't want to be like, oh my God, it's Steve Pachenik. Blah. He's a good source of information, but he also, I like to take the info and then research a little bit and see what I come across. Not a little bit, you know what I mean? Research it and see what I come across on my own and see if what I find correlates with what he's saying. And again, I don't have to agree with everything that, his personal take on something for his information about something else to be accurate.
Right.
But, no, I remember the interview and, look, Pachenik's an interesting dude. I mean, he obviously has, some sort of, some level of insider knowledge, so I wouldn't take what he says,
lightly.
Lightly and be like, he's a lying sack of shit. But at the same time, I would research it. I wouldn't just take it because he says it. But his stuff on Bin Laden is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anybody with half a brain knows Bin Laden was dead in 2001.
Yeah. At the worst case, maybe 2002, but most reports say 2001, even maybe 2000.
Let me ask you this. How come the quote unquote inside shots of Bin Laden watching television, how come the power strips, and if you look real close from the video footage that I can see, and I've taken still shots and blown it up, and of course it's not super high quality, but
That's what
From
they
what I
give
can
you.
see, those power strips look awfully American.
You know what's
with
funny? You know what's funny is this day and age with the cameras. I have an 8 megapixel camera. I can take 1080p video with my fucking phone, and the pictures that they release are of the worst quality that you.
Yeah, it's like if you
do.
took the fucking camera off of like, some old piece of shit, like half of a megapixel camera off of like one of the original Nextel phones when they came out with cameras on it from fucking 6 or 8 years ago, and that's what they're putting on the helmets of these soldiers. Like, really?
They may
the video is powerful enough for you motherfuckers to see it in Washington, but it's all.
You can read my license plate from space.
The satellite, right?
But your shit sucks on those helmets, and you might as well be, you'd be better off mounting a giant Polaroid camera on their helmet and let them just reach up and push a button.
I remember they came out with these.
I understand they got the cameras for the raids from the same company that supplies the cameras for, in all these big public places where all these massive terrorist attacks happen, and they never work.
Yeah, where we have no photo evidence.
Yeah, apparently it's the same company, so I guess they just make shitty cameras.
Well,
yeah, they put them up in Oklahoma City, and they put them up in the Pentagon, and they put them up in the buildings around the Twin Towers,
the tunnels all over France.
Yeah, the tunnels in
Paris,
France,
where in the tunnel where.
Well, the 7/7 bombing,
yeah. I mean, it's just, hey, this company, it must be one company that they all buy the same cameras.
All we have is that stairwell of where the flames in 7/7 just come shooting up. That's the only video.
You gotta
well, because that's the only explanation that makes sense, right, with the official theory. Because otherwise, if all these cameras came from different companies, that would mean there's obviously a conspiracy afoot to do something with the camera footage. So if I have to believe the official government theory, there has to be this one company, like the Acme Camera Company, where Wile E. Coyote gets his shit from. They're selling their cameras to the governments of all these nations.
You have to understand, though, in their defense, they always buy from the lowest bidder. So they're getting the shittiest quality for the price, So, even though they pay $700 or $800 for a screwdriver, I don't know if any of you guys ever worked in a department where you actually saw bills for tools. I happened to do that, and I actually saw the paperwork with the prices that they were paying for tools. And if you lost a screwdriver, literally, it was like a $600 bill to go buy another screwdriver. I mean, you could go buy an entire tool chest full of tools at Sears for $600.
That's how they funnel a lot of money into Black Ops projects, is doing shit like that.
That takes me back to the scene in Independence Day when they first arrive at Area 51.
Yeah.
And they're walking down the hallway, and the old guy's like, what do you think, they spend $20,000 on a toilet seat and $10,000 on a hammer? And he's like, how did this come here? Like, it's just that you see it all the time.
Where do you think the money comes from? I could tell you honestly, they spend money though too. Like it ain't nothing. I mean, I had access.
Y'all could tell us that.
Well, yeah, I was in the engineering division, so I had access to. You had to replace, like, if we had to replace a motor on a ship or something, have you ever seen any patrol boats or anything? They use these big Alcoa diesel engines.
No,
they're locomotive engines.
You said you worked with the Marine Division of the Army. So now I did a training, and we worked with I was a truck driver in the military, and we did the whole loading them on from the floating platforms and taking them out to the moored ship, and then loading all the trucks on there. And we also, did you ever work on the hydrofoil that they had? It was like a 178-foot hydrofoil. I forget the name of it exactly. Does it ring a bell? When were you in? When did you get out?
I got out the end of 2003. Our base, I was in the Coast Guard, but our base serviced every branch. Oh. So I had to deal with Navy, Coast Guard, and Army. And I'm going to tell you what, the Army has more boats, small boats, than the Navy does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It has more small boats than the Navy. Most people don't know that. But we used to deal with the Army transports all the time. Like the big, they look like a big version of the Higgins boats that they did the D-Day landings with.
Yep. Yeah. That's what we were loading onto. We would back our 5 tons onto those. We'd put, I think we fit 6 5-tons on those.
They used to come in all the time. Those guys were the rowdiest guys too. They would come in, and I'll tell you what.
This was in Virginia where I was doing that training.
2 weeks, 3 weeks at seeing one of those pieces of shit. I can understand why they would come in as horrible as they were.
I just want to know why India needs a warship. That's all I want to know, because supposedly in the Gulf of Aden, there's an actual Indian warship.
Well, who are they going to fight with? I mean, probably Pakistan.
Well, no. The Gulf of Aden is supposedly every major country has a warship in the area to, quote unquote, protect against the Somali pirates. And apparently the Somali pirates have just this incredible technology that they need warships from every major country to be in the area. And of course, that's the port there is where the USS Cole was bombed. And, that's also where this magnetic anomaly is happening right now. They think it's some kind of Stargate and, all this other stuff. So I'm just curious as to why India would even need a ship, from where it's at. That's more striking than the Army having boats, to be honest.
Well, we take a lot of our old stuff here, Navy, Coast Guard, and Army, and they sell all those ships to all these other foreign countries, and they retrofit them and they use them as destroyers and stuff. Oh yeah,
the Hawk system that I worked on, that was all that old equipment was sold to Jordan, to a lot of Middle Eastern countries. And matter of fact, when I went through AIT, we had Jordanians in our class. And we had guys from United Arab Emirates. We had all these different Middle Eastern people going through the exact same class that I was going through. And we had to have a top secret clearance, to go through all this stuff. And these guys were in there taking the exact same thing that we were, doing. So, all of our old equipment.
They sell off all that old equipment. That's what, I mean, people think they throw it out or it goes to some boneyard. No, they keep selling it. And when you see them selling equipment, that means that the stuff that are coming out with is, at least in their eyes, superior to what we had.
Well,
get rid of it.
When I was in, the Patriot was just getting started, and it was an awful system. I mean, it was just a shitty system, and somehow they made improvements, and now all of a sudden the Patriot's just this wonderful system that they have.
He's showing his age there, just so you know.
Stop it. I'm not that much older than you, so don't even go there.
All right, that's cool.
but yeah, I mean, it's they do. They sell all of their old junk goes somewhere else.
Yep, and then they, like EC Iraq, people were all up in arms because they were like, "Whoa, they're selling M1 Abrams tanks. What the hell? Why would they do that?" Because they have Abrams tanks with rail guns attached to them already. Okay, I know guys that are retired special forces that have, talked to me in confidence and told me I've seen them, and these people I trust. It's not like there's some liar.
I wonder how much faster the new ones are.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Come on. Like, if we're selling, it's what happens. If we're selling a piece of technology to somebody, to another country, we already have something hidden that they don't know about. Okay, that's just the way the military-industrial complex, New World Order, whatever you want to call it, works.
It's indefinite income for them.
Well, yeah, because then, then it's there's also that perpetual war, because then they can send our guys off to go fight battles because, hey, we have the best shit.
Well, and that's like when they say we're arming the Libyan or the Syrian rebels.
Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Most people don't realize that's Al-Qaeda. They've been shipping them from country to country to country as they're doing these rebellions.
Well, that page that I was telling you about, Obama's Libya, that's what we showed. The videos were beheading videos and stuff.
Yeah. No, I've
that was Al-Qaeda. Yeah, they were pretty rough too. I mean, that was the real deal. That wasn't some studio made up bullshit. That was some gruesome shit.
I wouldn't even show my wife them.
Yeah, I wouldn't let my wife see them either. I told her, you said, you will never sleep. And she could handle some pretty hardcore stuff. Like I showed her, when the pictures weren't out yet, I had gotten, a picture of the guy's face down at the causeway.
Okay.
And, I showed it to her. She was able to handle that, but I wouldn't show her that. Because that stuff is just gruesome, dude. That's some shit that'll give you nightmares. Like, I know grown men that were puking because of those videos, but that stuff had to be shown. Yeah. And I had people tell me, I know this is gruesome, but thank you for having the courage to put this up. And then I had people telling me, you're a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah.
Because they didn't want to see it. That's why they said that.
Or I love Muslims. You're a Muslim lover. You must love Al-Qaeda. And I'm like, no, you love Al-Qaeda, dick. That's Al-Qaeda. Yeah. Okay? Gaddafi wasn't Al-Qaeda. Let's get something straight. In Libya, they had education that was paid for.
Women went to school.
Women went to school. They had rights. They could drive cars. Not anymore. You kiss that goodbye. You can kiss paid education goodbye. Now they got nothing but sectarian violence, ethnic cleansing, you know, cities that are bombed to the freaking ground, DU poisoning all over the place. Ooh, freedom. Gotta love democracy. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, NATO. Thank you, United States. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Spray you with some DU. You know, I still think I have effects from that because I never knew about it until, you know.
You're holding DU rounds in your hand.
Yeah.
Man, these things are awesome. They don't tell you that while you're holding it, you're absorbing the radiation from it.
They don't, when they put you on ammo detail and they don't tell you that a 5.56 millimeter round is actually DU now. You know, they've got it down to that size. And you're sitting there and you're barehanded loading the mags for the shooting range, and you go through, you know, what, 2,000-3,000 rounds you load when you're on ammo detail, if not more.
Right. And what happens when those kids come back and they're getting lymphoma by the time they're 25?
Yep.
And people, there's a huge epidemic. Not only, you know, the suicide epidemic is one thing, but go look at the cases, and you have to actually do research because the VA is obviously not going to give this to you.
Well,
you actually have to go do it.
A report just came out that suicide is the number 2 cause of death in the military.
Bullshit. It's number 1. Yeah. Combat is not the number 1 cause of death.
No.
Suicide is. That's horseshit. Combat's the number 2 cause of death. But the other thing they won't tell you is guys coming back after they've been in theater and they're getting fucking cancer, all sorts of lymphoma, all this other shit. Where do you think they're getting that from?
Birth defects of their children.
And their wife, too, because now if the guys see, this is how DU poisoning is heinous.
They're in country, it gets on their clothes, they bring it home with them.
Not even in their clothes. If you have it in your system and you have sex with your wife, you can transmit the DU through your body fluids into your wife. And now she's infected with depleted uranium, too. And you only need one friggin' hot particle.
Well, along that lines, my cousin was an officer, and he flew Blackhawks, and there was a lot of missions in Afghanistan and Iraq and all that he couldn't talk about, you know, with family. And he actually had to, you know, he had to retire out of the military early. Well, he wasn't early. He had his 20 years in, but he was going to stay in longer. But he had to retire because of, what was it, the Hodgkin's disease? This guy is, the only problem he ever had that I knew of was he had asthma as a kid, but then he grew out of it, and he actually ran track in high school. He played football. The guy was in absolute phenomenal shape. And even I seen him, it's been a long time since I've seen the guy, but when I did see him not too long ago, a few years ago, he still looked almost exactly the way he did, you know, back then when he first went in. And the guy was in awesome shape. And all of a sudden he comes down with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or whatever the hell it was. It was just, how does that happen? The guy's never smoked. He's never, you know, he eats right. He exercises. And one of these days I'm going to try to get in touch with him and see if I can get him on, maybe under an assumed name or something like that, so that maybe I can get some information out of him on the show. But, it just blew us away when we were told that.
I had a conversation. Actually, I wanted to talk about this, and I think everybody will appreciate this. I had a conversation with a gentleman the other night. We actually went out and we're sitting at the bar, and this older gentleman comes in, and, you know, I live in Southwest Florida, a lot of old people around where I live. And we got to talking, and we got in the whole conspiracy conversation, and he looked at me and he said, you know, I've seen things that, you know, I know what you're saying. I don't put it past anything. And he like had this look in my face, and he said, all I can say is I thank you younger people for actually paying attention to this, for talking about it, and for, you know, really exposing it. And I tried to ask him if he would be willing, you know, assume name, voice coverage. You know, I offered him everything to try to get him to come and talk about it. And he's like, no, it hurts me to even talk about some of the things. And this guy was, I don't know, 70 years old, still really healthy, but he had stories, and you could tell by looking at, Popeye, I'm sure you've been doing this a long time. You've met a lot of people. I'm sure you've seen that look in somebody's eyes where you know that they're feeling you, and they have something they want to say, but they can't, they're afraid to, or they don't want to, or they just want to forget about it. And that's what I got from this guy. It was amazing feeling. I'm sure you've had hundreds of those experiences.
I know what you mean. And I just had the honor of interviewing a survivor from the USS Liberty. You know what the USS Liberty is?
Oh yes, absolutely.
I had the honor of interviewing Richard Larry Weaver, and he was one of the survivors. He was one of the most severely wounded too on board the ship. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most powerful interviews I ever did. And nobody that I know that's a vet that has heard that interview has not, at least at one point during the interview, gotten a bit choked up or even a little bit of tightness in their chest just listening to this. And I know guys that weren't vets that were like, you know, holy shit. But being a veteran, anybody that's gone through that, and to hear what this guy's gone through, especially if, like for me, I served on board ships. One of my good friends, he's a host at the network, Joe Joseph. He's a Navy guy. You know, my father, he's a vet. He's in the Navy. You know, the three of us all having this sea service and having been on board a ship, when you hear what he went through, and you can picture yourself, because you remember the drills, doing the same drills yourself, you know, so you can physically, you've had that experience, so you can put yourself in his shoes. And I have to tell you, honestly, I had a 2-hour pre-show with him the night before, where we just hung out and talked. It was like actually like 2.5 hours, and we just chatted like two old sailors, and you know, two salty sailors having, you know, a couple beers or whatever, and just chatting. And it was, you know, I had already heard all this, and still hearing it again while I was interviewing him still was tough. I have to, I'm not ashamed. I'm man enough to admit when something, you know, makes you go, you know, oh, and that was one of those things.
Right. Yeah.
And any vet can put himself in those shoes, man. It's one of the, I have to tell you, when you hear the story, I'll send you guys a link, you guys, so you guys can listen to it. Dude, I guarantee you guys are just going to be like, oh my God. And if you guys want, if you ever want to get him on, let me know. I'll throw you his email, in fact, so you guys could email him and see because I'm sure he's trying to get the word out about what happened. And if you guys interview him, Richard's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And you guys will really love him. So I'll give you his information and stuff off air. You guys will really dig him. But his story is just, whoa, dude, powerful. It's one of those things.
That would be great. You ever wonder why it seems to be a lot of this movement, a lot of the people that fight so hard, all tend to have some kind of military attachment, whether they served themselves or whether a family member served. Or maybe they were a law enforcement officer. You ever notice that's what this whole movement is full of? It's the majority of the people doing this.
There's a lot of people that have some sort of military connection, I've noticed, and it's not like I think it's infiltrated. A lot of people, the people that really are, I notice the serious ones, the people that have a lot of drive and stuff, there's usually a lot of people that are vets, and that's because there's a lot of us that take our oath seriously, man. You know, when I stood in that room with like 50 other people or 70 other people, whoever it was, at MEPS, and all those flags that are up there in the front, and you're standing there, when I read those words out loud, I wasn't just reading words out loud or saluting a flag or a piece of paper. I was making an oath to myself that I would actually put other people first and do the right thing and put that first above myself. And I took that oath serious. When I got out of the military, that did not stop my oath to do the right thing and protect and protect is not the right word, because I mean, I'm not Superman. You can't run around protecting things. But
covet innocence.
Well, you know, my whole life, I've always been, you know, I've always tried to help out people that if they were in a worse way than me. I mean, I was a fireman, volunteer firefighter for 6 years. I can't count on two hands how many times I've come across accidents that just happened and like literally the car was still rolling over or whatever, and I'll get out, and I've pulled people out of cars and stuff. One woman, I saved her life, and I didn't even realize until after we'd gotten in the ambulance, and the paramedic had told me if I hadn't kept pressure on her leg, she would have bled to death long before they ever got there. And I knew that I had stopped the bleeding and everything, but it didn't dawn on me, you know what I mean? It didn't set in. I just did it because it was the right thing to do.
You know what got me in my experience with that? I was 18 years old. I was still in high school. I started running with the squad when I was 17. And we had a car accident. Young girl. She was about 22. This was back in 93, 94-ish. And she died. Died on scene. I actually was the EMT that pronounced her dead. I rolled her head to the side and everything just kind of came out, and I knew that was it. And that one stuck with me, and I went to the funeral, and I spent a lot of time with it, and the family contacted me, and you know, being that last person with them makes a difference to people, even though sometimes you lose them. It's just, you know, going along the lines of what you're speaking with the whole, you know, volunteering and being a person and caring about things and doing things. You just have to do it. You can't be afraid.
Just do it, man. It's that first step that people are afraid of. And that's like the biggest one. It's like anything else, you know, when it comes to, you know, if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, it's that first step. It's the same thing here. We have to admit there's a problem, and we have to come up. Once you admit there's a problem, then you could sit down and reasonably use logic and figure out a solution for it, which a big solution is volunteering and stuff. I mean, we don't need paid police departments. We don't need it. We don't. We would save a ton of money if people would just get involved. You could have a certain amount of money set aside. Maybe you have 2 or 3 paid police officers, okay, and then the rest be volunteer. And it can be done. It's been done all over the country with fire departments and EMT squads. I don't understand why you can't do it with police departments. And I tell you what, I'm telling you, the police brutality rate would drop, because if you have volunteer squads, you break it up into
local areas or local blocks.
Well, yeah, and you
whatever.
have like firefighters, volunteers. You know, we had our plectrons. We were on 24 hours. But with the police department, you could have like shifts where you break it down. If you get enough guys, the guy, maybe each individual only has to do maybe a 6 hour shift or an 8 hour shift twice a week or once a week. And that's all they would have to do, and then show up maybe for meetings or whatever the hell, under your Robert's rules crap, like at the firehouse, you have the department and then the house. You know what I mean? So you had to show up for a certain amount of meetings and all that bullshit. But that's semantics. You could put all that shit aside later, but right off the bat, you could organize this. Wouldn't take that long. I mean, you could do it in a friggin' day if you had a couple people say, look, right now we're sitting here just bullshitting on air, going back and forth, right? And we're throwing this back and forth. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
I mean, what would happen if people actually took this seriously and sat down in a friggin' room and took the time to think about this? Things would get done.
Yep.
But they don't want that because it's against what these assholes that are in power right now want to do.
And like you were saying, you might have to go to a meeting here or there or, whatever. You can't change it without a commitment. You have to make a commitment to wanting to change it in order to change it. You can't just expect it to change without getting involved, whether it be paying attention to, part of why we're sitting here today is because people decided, they can figure it out and I'll just vote for this party or that party and I'll trust that they're going to do it, and just stop being involved. You have to be involved. People say the Constitution's failed and our whole system of government of being a democratic republic has failed. It's failed because we aren't involved anymore. We don't care. We just vote the way we're told to vote and then expect them to do the right thing. And we're not holding them accountable. We're not holding their feet to the fire.
Well, that's one of the biggest problems. But again, do we need this huge government?
No, we don't need a huge government at all.
Why do we need an FDA run by douchebags from Monsanto? Why can't we put people like Shelley Roach or whoever else, Mike Adams, whoever else, these people that know things about health and have done the research? Why can't we get people like them in charge of that? And,
why can't your community take care of it on its own? Let your town, your city, your state deal with it and it doesn't have to be federal level.
Do you know that when people say, "What corporations? You need this. Corporations have to produce this or that." No, they don't. That's bullshit. Do you know that original corporations in the United States of America had to prove, when this country was first founded, they had a charter. It was for a limited amount of time, and I think it was like 10 years, and they had to prove that they, their existence benefited the country and the people, and if it did not, they got ousted.
They didn't get their charter. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how a lot of the country grew in the beginning.
Exactly. And if at some point they got their charter and then turned down the wrong path, their charter would get revoked.
Yep.
Or when it came time to renew it, you wouldn't get it. And that was it. Corporation had to shut down. And if you didn't, they would shut you down by force.
But the problem is now the
Constitution.
The problem is now, though, the corporations are running the people making the decisions. That's the problem that we're at now.
Corporatism and fascism and communism, it's all the same shit. It's all Illuminism. It's all this one world government. This plan, they call it the work of ages. I'm not kidding. Manly P. Hall, you got to read his works. They made him an honorary Mason because, and he's like their unofficial historian. There's reprints of his books, his stuff online where they've got, 2 of his books in one. And you got to read it. I mean, it's got drawings, some of the original drawings and stuff, that they were able to reprint from the works. And he talks about all this stuff. He talks about Christopher Columbus. How many people know that Christopher Columbus didn't accidentally stumble upon the quote-unquote New World? Why do you think they called it the New World and they call it the New World Order?
Well, see that, Johnny, that goes with your theory that you had a couple weeks ago. Why don't you, I know we're running way late here.
Which one?
The one you had with why America was formed. Remember that whole theory that you had that was done on purpose, and that goes right with what he was just saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it kind of falls in line when you guys were talking about the law and, crossing, the bar exam coming from London. Why, it just makes sense that the United States was formed on purpose. These people were allowed to leave. They were allowed to come over here and start this thing because they needed more room and they needed more people to generate more money for them, and that was probably the basis of the whole thing. And then it just kind of blew up into what it is now. But, that was kind of my theory. It just kind of makes sense to me that really the United States was allowed to happen. It wasn't necessarily a group of people that were trying to escape religious persecution. I'm sure they were, but I think they were allowed to escape. I think it was, it was kind of a set up deal.
Well, they called it the New Atlantis. See, here's the thing. When you research this, there's a portion of this where you look at it and you go, well, the idea of a world where everybody got together and we got along and you could explore outer space and the ocean and whatever, that's awesome. The problem is the people that are pushing this idea, it's not so hunky-dory like that. They want all that for themselves, and they want the rest of us gone. They consider us like a virus, like a disease on the planet, which overcrowding and overpopulation is bullshit. It's a myth. The Japanese, like 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, came out with an independent study that showed that there's enough land mass in Africa alone to grow all the food needed to feed everybody in the world. So
don't we only populate like 7% of the actual space?
Well,
even in the United States of America here at home, we don't. There's so much, unused land.
Drive through Texas. Drive through Texas. That's all you have to do. Just drive through Texas and Arizona. Look at
Oklahoma.
Look at all the land. Texas is basically a bunch of big, not a bunch, but a few big cities, and there's nothing in between.
So they want us living in cities.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we should go bulldoze Mother Nature and, piss all over the planet, but this myth of overpopulation, we're destroying the planet and Gaia and everything else. I believe the Earth is alive. I'm not saying that I don't buy into the Gaia, the Gaia religion and all that stuff. I do believe the Earth is a living entity. I believe the whole solar system whole universe is. We're all interconnected.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I shouldn't say I believe that. I know that because that is from my research, that's the fact of things. And no matter, it's amazing that on a basic level like that, when you look at it like that we're all interconnected. When you research anybody, the Nazis to famous American founding fathers to truthers to whoever, from this huge broad spectrum of individuals all throughout history, they all understood this basic premise that we are all interconnected. Okay, so why is that so hard for people to really buy into? You know? And the other part of that is people are losing their humanity. Straight up, we're losing our humanity. And the easy way to point that out is look at how callous people are with animals. And I'm not saying I'm not a vegetarian. I eat cows and shit. But look how callous people will be with hurting a cat or a dog and causing it harm, tying a dog to the back of a truck and just dragging it down the street for fun because it's funny. Ha 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 ha! Yeah, hey Earl, it's funny. We tied this dog to the back of the truck. We dragged it and we killed it. You're the lowest form of piece of shit on the planet, and if I ever see somebody like that, I will gladly introduce you to God myself. Okay, people like that are the lowest form of dog shit, and it's I shouldn't even say that.
Dog shit's better than them.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say I wish them harm because even that's lowering myself, but that level of loss of humanity, that's a warning sign, man. People should look at shit like that and be like, there's a problem and we need to fix it.
But Popeye, the problem is though, is it goes right with what that's what the social engineers want. They want people like that, and everybody is engineered in some way, whether it be they're stuck on their antidepressants, whether they're stuck on their drugs, whether they're whatever it be. That's what they want, though. We're falling into their trap. What society is falling into their trap. Is that, do you not?
I'm trying to think of a way to visualize it, and it's like it is just it's hard to put it into context, the vast size of this, when you understand it and make it easy for, like, you know what I mean? Like, I find, you ever try to explain how broad this is to people? And they just look at, like, by the time you're where we are, they're like, you've lost them. They're like, Dancing with the Stars is on. I'm out of here, man. I can't handle this. You're insane.
I've had people say that to me. That something was on, like one of those shows were on. I got to go. I'm sorry.
It's frustrating, man. And you're like, dude, for real, when you're getting shipped off to some camp and you don't know why, and people could say, well, come on, blah, 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 blah. Look, that's what they would do. It would be easy to round people up and just get rid of them. That's what they want.
They did it during World War II to the Japanese, right here in this country. People don't realize that.
Well, see, they forget that. They think the only people that had concentration camps were the Germans.
No, yeah, they forget about the God, it was 1 million, 2 million Japanese people. Maybe it wasn't that much. I don't remember the exact number, but they were actually rounded up and put in camps. They were given
a sign of loss of humanity.
Yeah.
How do we allow drone strikes? How do we blow up little kids and their moms? And we justify that. The whole world thinks we're scumbags. The whole world. Did you see this poll that came out the other day? Yeah. The whole world is against drone strikes except most of Americans. That should show you how disconnected people in this country are.
You know what I saw going around Facebook today that I kind of didn't comment on it, and I kind of wish I did. There's a picture going around today, and it's a picture of like an F-18, and it's supposedly a communication picked up by somebody flying between London and Belgrade or something. I forget where, but it was the communication between an F-18 fighter pilot and Iran air defense. And it went, Iran Air Defense came on and said, on unidentified aircraft, you're entering Iranian airspace. Please identify yourself. He came back, said, no, I'm in Iraq airspace. He said, if you don't remove yourself from our airspace, we'll send up fighters. And he came back saying, well, I'm a Marine F-18 fighter. I'll be waiting, or something like that. And like, people are like happy that we're the bullies. We got all these anti-bullying laws out there, but the bully of the world is us.
Oh, I agree. And I know what you're talking about. And you know what? That's a lot of that stuff is propaganda and bullshit. Never even happens.
Right. Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, yes, it sounds like something a Marine would say, right? But do Marine fighter pilots really mouth off like that? Or are they a little more professional? Like, I look at it like I know Marines. You know what I'm saying? I have really close friends that are Marines. The guys I know that are Marines, they're mouthy. Look, we all know, we've all been there. We all have foul mouths, you know, but it just, to me, that screams of propaganda bullshit. Just like the opposite side of that is the Iraq incubator baby stories. Now with Syria, they're killing children. CNN was playing that shit the other day. They're murdering innocent children.
But they don't cry about the murder, but they don't cry about the children. We're murdering in Afghanistan or Iraq. You don't hear about that.
Is that really the Syrian government doing that, or is that these rebels with our weapons?
Right,
so
exactly.
Well, it's the Syrian government, but who says that? Well, the rebels said it, but they credible sources, really? Well, CNN said it too. Okay, again, they're not credible sources,
right? Why is Russia sending weapons to the Syrian government in
Hillary Clinton talks
sending them to the rebels?
She talks out of both sides of her lizard mouth. Let me tell you something. If there are reptiles, and Ike is right, and there are reptiles dressing in people's skin or whatever it is, she's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
She eats children and babies without a shadow of a doubt. She drinks blood. I am sure of it. She is evil personified, that woman.
You can really see the evil ones there. I mean, you can tell.
It comes out on TV.
It does.
The camera doesn't
hide.
Especially
with HD now.
Yeah, you can see the evil inside, man. I'm telling you.
It is. We talked about, how like you watch the news now, especially now. I mean, I only got an HD TV like 2 years ago. And once you really first put that HD TV on and you watch like Fox News or something and you see, the true people reporting to you, see their bloodshot eyes, you see the makeup caked on them. You can see the makeup line on their neck for where they stopped on the women. You know what I mean? And you can tell it's like a whole new thing in your brain that you realize how fake it all is. I always talk about when I do sit and watch TV, I won't sit and watch it. I'll glance at it, keep up with what's going on, and I got to look away. I look around the room. I just don't stare at TV. And people, need to realize that you have to disconnect from it every few minutes. You have to not let it get control of the waves, the waves that it sends out get control of your brain, And that's a big thing I always talk about is make sure you look away from that TV.
I don't even watch TV anymore. I mean, I literally wake up. I do this 7 days a week. I wake up. I built an office in my apartment for this, and then I wake up and I go and I get on my computer. I do my video editing, making the YouTube archives of my show, getting the audio stuff done. I do show prep if my show's coming up that day. If I have any like off-air interviews, like I'm going to pre-record, I do all that stuff. I live and breathe this, and I have to, because otherwise I don't have a team. I'm not Alex Jones. I don't have a crew. I don't have producers. I don't have anybody. Federal Jack is run by one person. My radio show Down the Rabbit Hole run by one person. I don't have the luxury of having a crew. So since I don't have that opportunity, it just has to get done. I can't sit around going, I want people to help me and not do anything. How friggin' useless would I be if I did that?
Yeah,
so you got to do it. You just got to carry on and do what you got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys know you're in the military. If you're out in the middle of like nowhere, right, and shit breaks down or whatever, are you going to sit around with your thumb in your ass and be like, oh, my mommy? Or are you going to just fix your shit and move on?
That's right. Exactly. You try to figure out how to fix it. And if you can't fix it, you load up and you hike on.
Right. But you adapt and you overcome regardless of whatever you have to do. You adapt and overcome. You're not going to sit there and break. If you sit there and break down, you're done.
Where's my mommy? I need my mommy.
You're going to die.
Hey, listen, we've been going a long time. I really appreciate you coming on, giving us so much time. Before we let you go tonight, we were hoping maybe you could give us a little drop for us to use for some promos and stuff. Your name, your site, and just the first 52. Johnny English and Sean Raspatello. If you could just give us a quick drop on that one.
Yeah, sure. When do you guys want to do it? When we're done, or?
No, we'll do it right now. Well, Johnny will edit it out. We're gonna wrap up here. You've given us.
I do this stuff.
You've given
live.
us 4 hours here, so.
Yeah, I do this stuff live. Every drop I've ever gotten for the show, like from Bob Levy and several other people that I've had as guests in the past, we just have them do it right on the air. We don't have anything to hide.
You guys let it all.
We let it all hang out. I'm hanging out right now. Go ahead.
He's porch pigging up there.
All right, let me. So you guys want just like, hey, it's Popeye from Federal Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Blah 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 blah. Anything special you want me to say?
Let it flow, brother. Give us what you got.
Just give us what you get. Just as long as the basics are there, just say whatever you want to say, man. By the way, this is the other part.
I don't know if I have a good radio voice like you do. Let me see if I can.
This is the other part. I love the uncomfortableness that the guest has to be going through right now. The only person that never felt uncomfortable is Bob Levy. But other than that, everybody else gets real uncomfortable because
you just caught me off guard. But I just got to get myself in that frame of mind and do it. It just takes a sec. That's cool.
Give me that hacky radio voice. Come on.
I don't know if I can do that. Give me it once so I can try to copy it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sean. You're the superstar. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm the superstar here. Just hey, we're gonna go.
No, but you got to do it in the campy radio voice.
I'm working on it.
I'm not going to do it.
I don't have the campy radio voice.
I don't think Sean has the hacky radio voice.
Yeah, I can't do that one. I can do hey, you're listening to Popeye from federaljack.com on WKOAlive.com, the first 52 with Sean, with Johnny and Sean. Well, something like that.
That's a bit, he doesn't necessarily have to say our names, just because that's actually a bit much. It'd be like, hey, this is Popeye from federaljack.com. You're listening to the first 52 on WKOAlive.com.
There you go. See, there's
the go. Wow. You see? That was easy. Okay, I can do that. That's easy. All right, let me mute my mic and I'll clear my throat for you. Hold on.
I love this stuff.
I appreciate everybody that's been on with us tonight. I saw the chat box got really filled.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people hanging in. Most people hung in up until about the last 15, 20 minutes. They started passing out. But we had a lot of people, and the audience steadily grew throughout that. That was kind of cool.
Been a great show tonight.
Yes.
We're ready for you there, Popeye.
You want me to do something like smartass? Like
you do what you want to do, man. It's marking you on our show, so
you can do smartass.
However you want to do it.
Then I'll give you a serious one. I can give you two of them if you want.
You can say Johnny.
Later.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, you can say Johnny's a dick. You can do whatever you want to say, man. I don't care.
Hey guys, it's Popeye from federaljack.com. You're listening to the first 52 on WKOAlive.com.
What were you worried about? That was perfect.
Yeah, that was fine. What are you all worried about?
No, I was trying to do the nice one first, and I was gonna.
Okay,
I was gonna add like where you hear the, I don't know, where you hear the inmates running the insane asylum.
Oh, that's okay. I'm pretty good at splicing stuff together, so I can actually splice that into the other one.
There you go.
You want me to say it a little more serious?
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll pick it up with WKOAlive.com, and then after I say it, you could pick it up from there. But I'll just say it so it rolls off a little bit easier. Hold on. WKOAlive.com, where you can hear the inmates run the insane asylum.
That'll work.
Perfect.
There you go.
Oh, Popeye, thank you so much for everything tonight, man. I appreciate you stepping in. I appreciate you giving us
over 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah.
No problem, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. Sometimes it's fun to be a guest on other people's show. It's not fun to always be in the driver's seat. Sometimes it's nice to sit back and be able to have a beer. You know what I mean?
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. See,
exactly.
Sean doesn't realize. See, I just kind of lay back, let him do the interview. I let him do a lot of the talking when other people are on. Because he doesn't realize I've been doing this all myself for so long that, and it hasn't been nearly as long as you or some of these other guys, but it's been long enough to realize I don't always want to be just yapping all the time. It's actually kind of nice to sit back. I've been drinking beer since you guys been yapping. I just keep drinking beer and hope not to pass out before the show's over.
That means it's a good night.
Yeah,
it's always a good night with us, brother.
Well, last week I got pretty lit up, and
you were derailing me the whole night.
Yeah, it was a little bit brutal, and then a couple weeks before that, I got pretty lit up, and it was pretty brutal. So I figured I better calm down. I didn't even start drinking till the second hour, so we're good to go.
Good to go.
Yeah, but
sometimes you gotta blow off steam, man. Especially when you're doing this stuff and you're researching the stuff that you're going to come across. When you get into like the stuff where they start doing like really horrible things to children and things like that, sometimes you need a day like where you can blow steam off. Otherwise, it's like you're going to go out and pull a Michael Douglas and falling down.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's really where I reach my limit is when the kids get involved and when I start realizing what's being done to the kids. That's where I really start losing it. So, yeah, I agree with you absolutely, and I do appreciate you coming on. And, I've had you on the site, on the Red Pill page. I've had you along with about 19, 20 other people. We've had you on the site for a long time. But anything we can do to help you, just ask, anything at all. And anytime, you're always welcome back. Just, if you want to drop Sean a line or whatever and let him know that, you're not doing anything. If you want to come on and talk about something, it doesn't matter. We'll always be here for you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. And, same goes for you. If you guys ever have any problems or anything, you know how it goes. Sometimes, you get screwed with by whoever, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, internet service provider, something bigger, whatever. You guys ever have any problems? Hit me up. And if you guys ever want to come on my show and hang out with me, let me know. Open door.
Excellent.
Cool.
Well,
man.
thank you.
Appreciate that, man.
It'd be a great time. Let's wind this down again. I want to thank you, Popeye, for coming out. We're going to do some more work together. I hope, we're pretty damn close. We need to try to meet up, eventually down the road. I'm actually going to be in your area. We're going on a cruise, on Monday, leaving out of one of the ports here in Florida that's close to you. And, unfortunately it's going to be a quick one, but, I hope down the road here, maybe the RNC will get to meet up.
Yeah, dude, most definitely.
So excellent. Well, hey, listen, man, you have a great evening. Johnny, why don't you wrap us up here?
Yep, I'll take us out.
And again, it's been a great show, and it's been an incredible wealth of knowledge we've received from Popeye there, and I can't extend any more thanks, and I have, and I'll continue to extend it.
Yeah, man, you just have no idea. We really appreciate it. Any of you guys that come on and give us your time it's always appreciated. It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody that gives us their time it's fantastic. But guys like you that have been doing this for a long, long time, it really means a lot. So we're going to get out of here. Please visit federaljack.com, and you can hear Popeye. What is the Down the Rabbit Hole with Popeye? That's the name of the show. And when's it on again?
It's on Wednesday nights and Friday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. And you could hear me over at the Orion Talk Radio Network, oriontalkradio.com. Thank you, gentlemen, for the plug, and thank you for your airtime. I greatly appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to get us out of here. This has been the First 52. We appreciate you guys hanging in with us as long. It's been a very long show, and there's no thanks enough. I can't give you guys enough thanks, for hanging in with and supporting the show. Please, like I said before, if you get on Amazon.com and you're going to buy something anyway, buy it through our site. Get on there, click on the link, and buy it through our site. We would greatly appreciate it. You never know. We might get a little kickback off of it and pay some bills on this damn site we got going here that's growing every day. Every day it's growing. So we appreciate it. I'm Johnny English for Sean Raspatello. Our guest Popeye from federaljack.com all night long. I'll have this uploaded hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. Enjoy your evening. Thanks a lot. We love you guys.